Chapter 1702. In fact, Qin Yiru wanted Yun Jian to go back with her as well. With Yun Jian around, Qin Yiru felt more confident. To Qin Yiru, Yun Jian was not only her daughter but also her hope in life. The closer it was to the Gaokao, the busier Yunyi was. Now Yunyi was even studying in school during the weekend and rarely went home. Even when she was home, she was busy dating Qin Yu. Qin Yiru had not seen her son for a long time. Fortunately, her daughter was with her. Now that the son-in-law she had acknowledged was doting on her daughter, Qin Yiru was very satisfied with her current life. After dinner, Xiao Yunzhu and the other two girls were sent to Mrs. Yang's house. Mrs. Yang was very kind to Xiao Yunzhu and the girls, so Xiao Yunzhu and the others liked to visit her house. It was also because of this that Qin Yiru would ask Mrs. Yang to take care of the children for her whenever she needed help. After settling Xiao Yunzhu and the other two girls in Mrs. Yang's house, Qin Yiru, Yun Jian, and Ce boarded the bus to Xinjiang town. It was not Ce's first time taking the bus, but if it were not for Yun Jian, he would never take the stupid bus. Coincidentally, it was the last bus from Longmen City to Xinjiang town at 6 o'clock. The bus was crowded, almost collapsing. Although they had a car at home, Yun Jian usually did not drive around. After all, she did not have a driver's license in country Z. Ce and Yun Jian's car usually had 2 seats, but Ce's Lamborghini had a back seat, but it was very cramped. Xiao Yunzhu and the other two girls could sit in the back seat of the Lamborghini, but Qin Yiru and Yun Jian could not even straighten their backs if they sat there. Therefore he simply chose to take the bus. Coincidentally, all the seats on the last bus had been taken, so Yun Jian, Ce and Qin Yiru were all standing and holding onto the handrail. Finally, someone got out of the car halfway and vacated a seat beside Ce. Without hesitation, Ce gave her seat to Qin Yiru. He used his tall and slender figure to protect Yun Jian, preventing any of the men standing on the side of the aisle from touching her. "Haha, young man, is this your girlfriend? Why are you protecting him so tightly?" A middle-aged man asked Ce as he grabbed the armrest. Because there were no seats, and this era was not like now where everyone had a cell phone in their hands. Standing on the bus while holding onto the handrail was a very boring thing to do. This uncle had nothing to do, so when he saw Ce hugging Yun Jian like she was a treasure, he couldn't help but chat with Ce. "She's my wife." Ce didn't look at the uncle. His handsome eyes were looking straight at Yun Jian, and he didn't sound shy at all when he spoke. "Wife? You're still young, right? You're already married?" the uncle asked with a smile. After being asked this question, Yun Jian had a bad premonition, as expected. When Ce took out his and Yun Jian's country or marriage certificate and showed it to the uncle, even the uncle was a little embarrassed. "Ahem. This, young man, you still carry your marriage certificate with you?" The uncle laughed awkwardly. "Yes." Ce only responded softly. "You must love your girlfriend, your wife very much, right?" The uncle almost asked the wrong question, but he immediately reacted and corrected himself. "For her, I can give up everything." Ce reached out and rubbed Yun Jian's head as he spoke. "Including life," Ce added in his heart. At this moment, the bus driver suddenly saw a pedestrian running towards the middle of the road. He was so frightened that he slammed on the brakes. The bus suddenly braked and the passengers on the bus swayed and fell forward. The bus was already very crowded, so there was no space to retreat. The surrounding people were all middle-aged men who smelled of sweat. Ce was a clean freak, so he didn't like to come into contact with these people. But when the bus driver slammed on the brakes, he didn't even hesitate to turn around and hug Yun Jian, causing the people who smelled of sweat to fall on him. When they fell on him, he didn't even cry out in pain. Instead, he looked straight at Yun Jian, constantly checking to see if Yun Jian was scratched or hurt. Chapter 1703. Qin Yiru was sitting beside them. She had seen how Ce shielded Yun Jian just now. Watching how Ce shielded Yun Jian and how he did not even frown when people bumped into him, still shielding Yun Jian with his sturdy frame, Qin Yiru opened her mouth to say something but kept it shut in the end. Qin Yiru had an indescribable feeling when she saw how protective he was of her daughter. Her daughter was so lucky to have met a good kid like Ce. If Qin Yiru's inner monologue was heard by Ce, he would probably blurt it out. Meeting her was the happiest thing that had ever happened to him. Taking the last bus back to Xinjiang town from Longmen City, the bus was so crowded that even the air on the bus was stale. It was stuffy and smelly. Yun Jian did not feel any bumps on the way because Ce stood behind her and held her in his arms, preventing anyone from touching her. Qin Yiru only saw Ce shielding her daughter but did not notice that when Ce shielded Yun Jian, he bent his lean back and lowered his head slightly to press his thin lips to Yun Jian's ear intimately. His large palms were even more stimulating. Ce and Yunjian were standing beside Qin Yiru as he wrapped his large palms around her waist and placed them in front of her abdomen. Yunjian's breasts were huge, especially when she was still in her growing phase. Even today Yunjian could not hide her voluptuous breasts even if she wore a loose top. Ce's bracelets were placed slightly above Yunjian's flesh-free abdomen. He could even feel the bottom of her perky breasts. Qin Yiru did not notice that Ce had secretly taken a few bites of her daughter as her eyes were filled with relief. She was glad that her daughter had met someone who loved her as much as Ce. It was true that Ce doted on Yunjian and planned to dote on her to the core. It was only when they arrived at Xinjiang town and got off the bus that Yunjian breathed in the fresh air. The sky was completely dark by then. The uncle who spoke to Ce just now was from Xinjiang town as well. Before he left, he tiptoed with a grin to pat Ce's shoulder and gave Ce a thumbs up. Good lads who dote on their wives. The young lady has good taste to be with you at such a young age. With that, the uncle shook his head with a smile and walked further and further away. After the uncle left, his words made Yunjian's cheeks moisten slightly. Let's go. Qin Yiru led Yunjian and Ce back to Zhang Meihua's house. After dinner, regardless of whether it was a village or a town, people who did not need to go to work after a busy day would gather in front of a house and chat endlessly. When Qin Yiru brought Yunjian and Ce to Zhang Meihua's house, there was a group of old women sitting in front of her house. There were a few young ladies standing beside the group of old women who were very outstanding. Chapter 1704. Don't say that. Fangfang is a good child. It's all that bastard son's fault for not being able to control his lower body. Why are you blaming Fangfang? As long as he's a man, he shouldn't be looking for women outside. If I see him, I'll kill him. Among the group of old ladies present, not all of them were here to hit Qin Fangfang when she was down. One of them, Granny Xia, was sitting beside Qin Fangfang. When she saw Qin Fangfang close her eyes in pain, her heart tightened. Granny Xia reached out to stroke Qin Fangfang's back to comfort her while retorting to the old women who were kicking her when she was down. Granny Xia was already in her 70s. Granny Xia's husband passed away early and she became a widow at the age of 40. Knowing that Granny Xia was lonely at home, Qin Fangfang often went to Granny Xia's house when she was young. Granny Xia was very important to Qin Fangfang. Granny Xia did not have any children. She treated Qin Fangfang as her own daughter. She also watched as Qin Fangfang married into a wealthy family outside the province. To Granny Xia, even though Qin Fangfang rarely came back these years, she still looked forward to it. Whenever Qin Fangfang returned to Xinjiang town, she would visit Granny Xia. Now, something like this had happened. Qin Fangfang's bastard husband from a wealthy family, Sun Baiwen, actually cheated on her. He even brought his mistress home openly. Qin Fangfang had returned to Xinjiang town and returned to her parents' home. However, Zhang Meihua had always talked about her daughter marrying into a wealthy family. She used to be glorious. When Qin Fangfang returned to Xinjiang town in the past, she had never bragged to anyone. However, Zhang Meihua had bragged for her for so many years. Now that Qin Fangfang was unfortunately in dire straits, the old women who had been bragging to Zhang Meihua for so many years found a chance to mock and ridicule Qin Fangfang. Granny Xia could not stand it anymore and shouted for everyone to stop. Don't keep looking for reasons on the man. There must be something hidden when the man cheats. If you ask me, so what if your man cheats? You should go back. Take the family's assets and let the man go out to play. Let him do whatever he wants. It's fine as long as the money is in your hands. The old woman sitting by the side was very experienced and advised Qin Fangfang to go back and not get a divorce. Qin Fangfang obviously didn't want to listen to the old woman's words. She lowered her head. After listening to the old woman's words, she really couldn't take it anymore and walked towards the door. Just as she stood up, Madame Fan grabbed Qin Fangfang's hand and refused to let her go. The old woman who had said that Qin Fangfang couldn't give birth to a child for Sun Baiwen grabbed Qin Fangfang's hand and refused to let her leave. Don't go, we're just concerned about you. Besides, that's the truth. If you work hard and give birth to a son or daughter for your future husband, he won't cheat on you. Being scolded for not being able to have children was Qin Fangfang's bottom line. It was also something she hated to hear the most. The old woman, Madame Fan, even grabbed Qin Fangfang's hand and refused to let her go. This scene was witnessed by Qin Yiru, who was walking over from afar. Qin Yiru was so protective of her sister that even Qin Yiru did not realize that she was born weak. Now she had the courage to dash forward and grab Madame Fan's hand, flinging her away. Then she shouted at Madame Fan. Let go of my sister. Yunjian and Ce followed closely behind. When Qin Yuru flung her hand away, Madame Fan's body jerked backward and she almost fell down. After she steadied herself, Madame Fan glared angrily at Qin Yuru, who had suddenly appeared and pushed her. She scolded Qin Yuru mercilessly. "Oh, is Yuru from the Qin family back? You Qin sisters are really something. Both of you are divorced and chased back to your parents' home. Those who don't know would think that your daughters have contracted some kind of illness." Slap. Before Madame Fan could finish her sentence, a huge slap came at her. In the next second, Madame Fan felt dizzy and was flung a few meters away. When the crowd saw this, they quickly turned around in shock and saw Yun Jian, who had slapped Madame Fan, standing in front of them. After Madame Fan was flung away, she strode forward and grabbed Madame Fan's collar, saying coldly, Chapter 1705. Yun Jian's slap was so powerful that it sent the person flying several meters away. This action shocked the old women and the young girls standing around. "Are you Qin Yuru's daughter, Yun Jian?" One of the old women recognized Yun Jian. She was stunned and then dumbfounded. Qin Yuru's daughter, Yun Jian, was New Cruise's director. This news had spread throughout Xinjiang town. Yun Jian's reputation was known by everyone in Xinjiang town. Moreover, when Qin Yuru remarried, Yun Jian had organized her wedding single-handedly. She had laid out the red carpet from Zhang Meihua's house to Gu Yunjian's house. More than 20 sports cars had been sent to the wedding, some of which were limited edition sports cars. The wedding half a year ago had caused a sensation in Xinjiang town. Qin Yuru's daughter, Yun Jian's name had spread throughout Xinjiang town at that time. Therefore, it was not surprising that the old woman could recognize Yun Jian. Miss Fan, who had been sent flying by Yun Jian's kick and grabbed by the collar, had wanted to retaliate against Yun Jian. However, when she heard the other old woman mention that Yun Jian was New Cruise's director, she was stunned. "Grandma, who is she? How can she hit an old woman? Doesn't she know how to respect the old and love the young?" The old women in Xinjiang town had spread the news that Qin Yuru had given birth to a powerful daughter. However, the few young girls who rarely returned to Xinjiang town and would occasionally return to the countryside to show off after getting good grades in school did not know who Yun Jian was. One of the girls, who was rather petite and had a pair of slender and fair thighs, had spotted Ce from afar. It went without saying that young girls would pay attention to the opposite sex. She had seen Ce walking toward them while holding Yun Jian's hand from afar. Ce's handsome silhouette coupled with his messy hair and tall frame made him look like an almighty god, attracting the girls' gazes. The petite girl had taken a liking to Ce at first glance. At the same time, she did not have a good impression of Yun Jian. Seeing that Yun Jian had sent Madame Fan flying with a kick, the girl called out to an old woman standing beside her. The girl's name was Suya. Suya had spoken very loudly to her grandmother when she had accused Yun Jian of not respecting the old. She had spoken so loudly because she wanted Ce to hear her. She wanted Ce to see Yun Jian shamelessly hitting the old woman so that Ce would dislike Yun Jian. Suya herself did not like the old woman from the bottom of her heart. However, in front of others, she still pretended to be very kind and showed her best side to the public. When the surrounding girls heard Suya's words, they all said that Yun Jian was impolite for hitting the old woman. When everyone spoke up to this point, they saw Ce take 2 steps toward Yun Jian. Chapter 1706. Remember when he said he was going to annihilate Fan Shi? He was going to annihilate her entire family. Everyone's expression darkened when they heard Ce's words. Especially Suya and the other girls who wanted Ce to think that Yunjian was a girl who disrespected the elderly and wanted Ce to lose all affection for Yunjian when he realized this. Now they were pale with fright. They had thought that Yunjian had gone overboard just now. In comparison, Ce was so much more ruthless than Yunjian. He was going to annihilate Fanshi's entire family just because of what she said. Was he going to kill Fanshi just because of what she said just now? Moreover, Ce's actions just now terrified the girls. Could it be that he was from the underworld? Ce hung up without waiting for the person on the other end to reply and pulled Yunjian into his arms. Looking at Yunjian's face that he could not bear to let go of, Ce's chilling words spread to every corner of the venue, sending chills down everyone's spine. Everyone here, listen up. If I hear any of you bad-mouthing my mother-in-law in the future, I'll annihilate your entire family. Ce's gaze on Yunjian was gentle, but his words to the crowd were chilling like winter ice. Qin Yuru was Xiao Jian's mother, which meant that she was his mother as well. Ce had never experienced a mother's love, but he had received Qin Yuru's care. To Ce, Qin Yuru was Yunjian's mother as well as his mother. Naturally, he would not let his mother be bullied. If Adam and Shuang were here to hear what Ce said, they would probably be mocking him. They were not even officially married yet, and their young master was already calling her mother-in-law. How shameless. Of course, if Adam and Shuang said that in front of Ce, they would definitely be banished to the Amazon forest for a few years by Ce. Once Ce spoke, the gossipy old women and the girls who had bad-mouthed Yunjian shuddered and gulped. Go 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 go, it's too scary. Let's go home. The old women around them were smart as well. When they heard Ce's words, they left the place like they were fleeing. Those young girls were the granddaughters or nieces of the old women. When the old women left, these young girls were naturally taken away with them. Soon the place quieted down. Madame Fan, the old woman who had bad-mouthed Qin Yuru and Qin Fangfang, crawled over from the lawn and knelt in front of Qin Yuru. She knew that if Yunjian was capable, Ce would not be too bad. Qin Yuru. Yuru. Save me. Save me. I spoke too fast just now. You can't let your son-in-law treat me this way. I'm a dutiful person. It's my fault, it's my fault. I won't do it again. I beg you. Please let me go. Madame Fan knew that Qin Yuru was easy to talk to, so she kowtowed desperately to Qin Yuru to admit her mistake. Although Madame Fan had gone overboard with her words, Qin Yuru still had to return to Xinjiang town. She could tell that the people standing around Lin Mingyu were all Xinjiang town high school students. They were her classmates. More than a year ago, the first person she met after her rebirth was, strictly speaking, Lin Mingyu and her little follower. At that time, Lin Mingyu pushed her head into the school's toilet. She had punished Lin Mingyu after that. Why was she here again? Yunjian, you used to be so arrogant just because you were capable. Let me tell you, I've been learning martial arts from an expert for the past year. I've already learned all of my master's ultimate skills. Today I've called some of our former classmates here so that everyone can be witnesses. I, Lin Mingyu, will defeat you today. I'll wipe away all the humiliation. Today I'll return all the humiliation you've brought to me. Lin Mingyu clenched her fists and gritted her teeth as she looked at Yunjian's face that was even prettier than before. There were many onlookers. Qin Yuru had just gone to Xinjiang town's market to buy groceries. Lin Mingyu brought a large group of people over. When the neighbors heard the commotion, they all came over to see what was going on. You want to fight me? Yunjian narrowed her eyes and looked coldly at Lin Mingyu. Lin Mingyu hated her to the core because of Yuan Ingjun. She did not expect her to be so unrepentant after so long. That's right. My master taught me all of his ultimate skills. I guarantee that you'll be looking for your teeth on the floor. Lin Mingyu glared hatefully at Yunjian and yelled. Yunjian smirked and stood in front of Lin Mingyu fearlessly, declaring arrogantly, "You're right." Chapter 1708. What Yunjian said was not a secret. At least, it had spread throughout the Min City Military Academy. She was not afraid of Qin Yuru finding out. Moreover, Qin Yuru was not at home now as she had gone to the market to buy groceries. The neighbors had also gathered here because of Lin Mingyu's arrival with a large group of people. They were surrounded by people. When Yunjian had just been reborn, Lin Mingyu's ribs had been broken by Yunjian. After being bedridden for a few months, she had met Yunjian again and wanted to get rid of Yunjian. However, in the end she could not even lay a finger on Yunjian. Lin Mingyu was the daughter of Xinjiang town's principal. In a small place like Xinjiang town, Lin Mingyu was considered a spoiled child compared to her peers. As the daughter of Xinjiang town's principal, when had she ever been bullied? The first time in her life that she had been humiliated was at the hands of Yunjian. She would remember this grudge for the rest of her life. Just as Lin Mingyu was looking at Yun Jian with confidence, she and the people around them heard Yun Jian's words. Before going to the hunting school, Z country held a selection competition for the best special forces in the country. It was not a secret that could not be told to others. Therefore, as long as one was concerned about these matters, they would be able to get the news from various channels. Reality proved that there were only 3 spots for the hunting school, and the competition for the spots was very intense. Many middle-aged and elderly people in Xinjiang town who liked to read newspapers wanted to know which 3 people had obtained the right to go to the hunting school, but to no avail. Yun Jian's words had stirred up everyone's emotions. For a moment, everyone stared at Yun Jian with widened eyes in shock and horror. Did you participate in the selection competition? A middle-aged man who liked to read newspapers looked at Yun Jian with fear in his eyes as he exclaimed. Some of Yun Jian's classmates who had been called over by Lin Mingyu when they were in Xinjiang town school heard the conversation between Yun Jian and the middle-aged man. They all looked at Yun Jian in shock. So what? However, before Yun Jian could answer, Lin Mingyu suddenly interrupted everyone. She pointed her finger at Yun Jian and stared at Yun Jian fiercely. She looked like she wanted to tear Yun Jian into pieces. Tell me, do you dare to fight me or not? Lin Mingyu pointed her finger at Yun Jian. She gritted her teeth and shouted at Yun Jian. Leader, softer, softer. At the same time as the incident in Longmen City, Xinjiang town, Leng Mei was caught by Di Lin in blood doll and pinned down to do unspeakable things to her. After being brought back by Di Lin, Leng Mei had been bullied on the bed for 3 days and 3 nights. At this moment, Leng Mei was hugging Di Lin's head and letting Di Lin move up and down on her body. Leng Mei was Di Lin's lover. This was something everyone in the Blood Doll organization knew. After the former leader of Blood Doll, who was also Di Lin's father, passed away and Di Lin became the leader of Blood Doll, he made it clear that he wanted Leng Mei to be his lover. Leng Mei was only an assassin in Blood Doll and was saved by Di Lin's father. She had no right to refuse. She had always thought that Di Lin only wanted a woman to warm his bed and vent his lust, so she had never harbored any improper thoughts. She was already prepared to die when she was caught trying to assassinate Yun Jian. She did not expect that Yun Jian would not kill her and even let her stay with Qin Yu and Gun Yanji. Now that she had been caught by Di Lin for so long, her waist was about to break from being bullied. Leng Mei had even begun to plan to escape from Di Lin. Di Lin did not like her anyway. After she left him, she would simply find him another woman to warm his bed. Leng Mei had already made up her mind. What are you thinking about? Di Lin asked after he finished venting his lust on Leng Mei and put on his clothes, sitting beside her as if nothing had happened. It was only then that Leng Mei snapped out of her trance. She pulled the blanket over herself and glanced at Di Lin carefully. Nothing. After that, Leng Mei put on her clothes swiftly and headed out the door as usual. He did not like her staying in his room after every session, so she left on her own accord. Chapter 1709. I made a bowl of chicken soup for you in the kitchen just now. It'll burn if you don't turn off the fire. Leng Mei had indeed made a bowl of chicken soup, but it was just an excuse for her to leave. She thought that as long as she left and sent a woman back in time, their chief would definitely forget about her after some time. Leng Mei still wanted to return to Xinjiang town to play mahjong with Qin Yu and Gun Yanji. Have someone send it over. Stay here. Di Lin held Leng Mei's wrist tightly. He never had a reason to do anything he wanted her to do. But I made it myself. I want to serve it to you personally. Leng Mei did not expect her chief to change so much after her return. She quickly found another excuse. All right. Di Lin was relieved when he heard that she had made it herself. Leng Mei then hurried to the door. Just as she reached the door, Di Lin's voice rang, "Come back quickly." Leng Mei paused, her gaze wavering slightly before she nodded. Yes. Leng Mei ran straight to Blood Doll's training ground after leaving the room and met Ruo Yin. You're really running? Ruo Yin held her forehead looking at Leng Mei. Quick, lend me your helicopter. Leng Mei came over and hugged Ruo Yin's shoulders. If I were you, I'd stay by the chief's side obediently. Can't you see that the chief loves you so much? Ruo Yin could not help reminding her. Leng Mei's hand froze as she wavered. She actually loved Di Lin very much. However, if he really loved her, she had been with him for so many years. Why would he still? I'm leaving. Don't think about me. Leng Mei snatched Ruo Yin's helicopter and drove it away without further thought. Ruo Yin, who stood where she was, shook her head. She was betting a dime. Leng Mei would definitely be caught and brought back soon. At the same time, Xinjiang town, Longmen City. Lin Mingyu was pointing at Yun Jian as she shouted confidently. Tell me, do you dare to fight me or not? After Lin Mingyu shouted, Yun Jian's and Lin Mingyu's classmates in Xinjiang Town High School stood up to support Lin Mingyu. Mingyu's master has always been living in seclusion on the mountain. A year ago, he personally came down the mountain to take Mingyu as his disciple. It's said that Mingyu's bones are suitable for practicing martial arts and that she's a rare talent that only appears once in 1,000 years. Wow, you made a hermit expert come down from the mountains to recruit a disciple, and he even came looking for you himself. Mingyu, you're amazing. We support you. You're the best. Back in Xinjiang Town High School, there were very few people who helped Yun Jian. Other than Lu Fian, there was no one else. Yun Jian had always been the one who was isolated because of her good looks. Therefore, when they saw Lin Mingyu bringing everyone to look for Yun Jian, the students from Xinjiang Town High School were all on her side. Although Yun Jian's strength was astonishing, she did not stay in Xinjiang Town High School for long after her rebirth. What's more, these students didn't know what happened later. Of course, they didn't know Yun Jian's other identities. Lin Mingyu felt smug when she heard her former classmates say that she had been taken in as a disciple by a master and that her strength was now astonishing. She raised her head high and made an expression as if she should accept the evaluation of the people around her. Yun Jian, surrender obediently if you know what's good for you. Let me send you to the hospital and our grudge will be written off. Otherwise, ha! Just as Lin Mingyu finished, a hurried voice rang from the entrance. Xiao Jian. Right after that, Yun Jian saw a few people running in through the entrance. Since it was Saturday and school was over, the students could return to Xinjiang town. Lu Fian was the first to run in. Following behind her were the original basketball team of Xinjiang Town High School, Li Xiangyi, Wu Kuei, Wen Rui, and others. Lu Fian and the basketball team were the first batch of friends that Yun Jian made in Xinjiang town. When she left Xinjiang town, Yun Jian had promised Lu Fian and the basketball team to meet in Longmen City a year later. A year later, however, Yun Jian went to Min City Military Academy while Lu Fian and the basketball team went to Longmen City. Sometimes, even Yun Jian herself could not predict what would happen in the future as things changed. When Lu Fian and the basketball team ran in, they stood in front of Yun Jian and glared at Lin Mingyu. Lin Mingyu, what do you want? Xiao Jian didn't do anything to you at all. It's always you and Yuan Ingjun harassing her. Now that you're here, how shameless can you be? Lu Fian growled at Lin Mingyu as she stood in front of Yun Jian. Yun Jian crossed her arms and looked at Lin Mingyu coldly. Lin Mingyu's bones were loose and her attacks were soft. Even if she met an expert, even if she was trained from a young age, she would never reach the level of a senior assassin. For someone like Zhang Xiaofeng, who had strong bones and powerful punches, just a few words of guidance would be enough for him to reach the sky. This was also the reason why Yun Jian accepted Zhang Xiaofeng as her disciple. Lin Mingyu was a rare genius that only appears once every 1,000 years? Yun Jian almost sneered. What? Are you jealous after hearing that I'm a rare genius that only appears once every 1,000 years? Let me tell you, even if you're jealous, it's useless because I was born with it. Master said that I was born to learn martial arts. Hearing Yun Jian's words, Lin Mingyu thought that Yun Jian was jealous. She laughed and spoke confidently. However, just as Lin Mingyu finished speaking, a woman with voluptuous breasts and buttocks walked in through the main door. This woman was charming and had a voluptuous figure. The moment she entered, she attracted the attention of many men. However, after the woman saw the scene, she laughed loudly and then said to Yun Jian in front of everyone. Chapter 1711. Lung Mei's sudden appearance startled everyone present. At this moment, Lung Mei was wearing a tight-fitting black leather jacket and pants. Her perfect body was fully displayed. Anyone who saw such an enchanting and sexy figure would be attracted to her. Even the women were attracted to her, let alone the men. Seeing Lung Mei enter from the entrance, she did not hesitate to spit out what she had just said. By the time everyone realized that Cold Charm was the woman that Zhang Yang was talking about, everyone was shocked. Those present were ordinary residents of Xinjiang town, farmers, construction sites, or factory workers. They did not even go to Longmen City often and had to be frugal with their spending. Hearing Lung Mei say the word kill, so casually, everyone was shocked. What are you doing here? Just as everyone was puzzled and wondering how Yun Jian could possibly know this woman, Yun Jian suddenly looked at Lung Mei with her arms crossed. She obviously knew this woman who spoke of killing so casually. Everyone was shocked. Even Lu Fian, Li Xiangyi, and Lin Mingyu were surprised. Qing Yu and Gun Yanji asked me to hide here for a few days. Don't rat me out. Lung Mei said lazily as she walked to Yun Jian. I didn't hire you to slack off. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. She did not look at Leng Mei standing where she was with her arms crossed. Now that the Blood Doll organization had been handed over to her, it meant that all the assassins and agents in the organization would be paid a commission. Some of the kosher mercenaries' own trained assassins and agents had an agreement. When the agreement expired, they would be set free. If these assassins and agents were willing to stay in the kosher mercenaries, the kosher mercenaries would hire them at a reasonable price. This was the commission. Leng Mei had been in the organization for so many years and her contract had expired long ago. In other words, Leng Mei would be paid even if she did nothing in the organization. Now that the organization had been handed over to Yun Jian, Leng Mei would still be paid for slacking off and her salary was not low either. I'm just taking a few days off. There's no need to be so calculative. In the past, Lord Chief didn't even care about me, Leng Mei said. In the past, Di Lin really didn't care about Leng Mei. Even if Leng Mei slacked off for a year, Di Lin didn't say anything about her. Don't do it again. Yun Jian pursed her lips. She smiled and said softly. Okay. Leng Mei was relieved. Not bad, not bad. There was a place to hide. The conversation between Yun Jian and Leng Mei was heard by the people around them, but they were confused. What do you mean by, I'll hire you? What leader? What the hell was all this? Everyone present was confused for a moment. Yun Jian, what the hell are you doing? Even if you pretend to be very strong, it's useless. I'm a genius that only appears once in 1,000 years. Master said that even if you practiced martial arts since you were young, you would definitely not be able to beat me. Calling for reinforcements was futile. Hee, what nonsense are you talking about? Don't make me laugh to death. Hearing Leng Mei and Yun Jian's conversation, Lin Mingyu was confused. She laughed coldly, then looked at Yun Jian and sneered. That's right. What nonsense are you talking about? Do you really think you're very strong? I'm dying of laughter. Mingyu, we support you. A female classmate of Yun Jian's from the same class followed behind Lin Mingyu and sneered at Yun Jian. However, just when everyone thought that Yun Jian and Leng Mei's words were pretentious, Leng Mei suddenly smashed the stool in front of her with her palm. She smashed the stool with her bare hands. Then she pointed at Yun Jian and sneered in front of everyone. Chapter 17:12. Just as Leng Mei spoke, a guffaw was heard. Ah, we're not even worth a finger of hers. Are you kidding me? Don't think you're so great. What a joke. The one who laughed was Lin Mingyu. She was currently glaring at Yun Jian coldly, her gaze brimming with confidence. She was confident that she could defeat Yun Jian. Xiao Jian, this is? The voice of Qin Yiru, who had just returned from grocery shopping, rang from the entrance. Qin Yiru stared blankly at the neighbors who had gathered around to watch the show, as well as Lin Mingyu, Lu Fian, and the others, not knowing what was going on. Ha, you're just in time. You're Yun Jian's mother, aren't you? Your daughter bullied me back then, you don't know, right? She even broke the ribs in my abdomen. I'm going to kill her right in front of you now. Seeing that Qin Yiru had returned, Lin Mingyu did not think that she had gone overboard just now. Instead, she scolded Qin Yiru fiercely. Qin Yiru was shocked by the stare. She was about to speak when Yun Jian's eyes glinted sharply. With a flick of her arm, 6 flying daggers shot out from her hand and went straight to the roof of a nearby house. The scene shocked everyone present. What's wrong with you? Lin Mingyu growled at Yun Jian. However, as soon as the roar fell, a short, old man dressed in martial arts clothes appeared in front of everyone. After the elderly man appeared, 4 to 5 young men appeared beside him. Everyone was surprised. What was going on? Who were these people? As they wondered, Lin Mingyu's eyes widened as she stared at the elderly man and the young men beside him. Master, senior brothers, why are you here? The elderly man was Lin Mingyu's master. When the elderly man appeared, he did not seem to see Lin Mingyu at all. His sharp gaze was trained on Yun Jian and he guffawed after a moment. Ah, my junior brother has imparted his lifetime's ultimate skill to you. You didn't disappoint me, slaying God. The elderly man guffawed, his gaze on Yun Jian's malevolent gaze remained unchanged under everyone's watchful eyes. The moment he saw the old man and heard the old man's words, Yun Jian suddenly thought of someone. That person was the old man who had taught her a series of ultimate techniques such as hypnotism in her previous life. He could be considered her master. Later on, Yun Jian had also looked for him, but the news she received in the end was that the old man was in the Yulong mainland. Whether or not he was in the Yulong continent was still unknown. Her intuition told her that the junior brother mentioned by the old man who suddenly appeared was the old man who could be considered her master. Master, what are you talking about? She also learned my skills? Lin Mingyu was shocked. She looked at the old man and asked in confusion. Mengyu, it's all thanks to you that I was able to find her, ha. Your abilities are not worth mentioning, so don't embarrass yourself here. Leave now. The old man glanced at Lin Mingyu from the corner of his eyes and said, Master, what did you say? Lin Mingyu was completely shocked. Master, didn't you say that I'm a once-in-a-lifetime talent? Lin Mingyu did not believe him. That's a lie, ha. The old man glanced at Lin Mingyu and ignored her. He looked at Yun Jian with eyes as sharp as a sword. Slaying God, I've been looking for you for a long time. Finally, I found you. My junior brother's disciple, ha. He actually has a disciple. Ah. How can I let his disciple continue to live in this world? Ah. The old man looked at Yun Jian in a crazed manner and sneered. My daughter is not slaying God and has never had a master. You've got the wrong person. When Qin Yuru heard what the old man said, she was so frightened that she hurried over to hold Yun Jian back. It was obvious that these people were not ordinary people. Qin Yuru did not want anything to happen to Yun Jian. The people around them were confused. Wrong person? Aha, do you really think that she's your daughter, Yun Jian? What a joke. Ah. What? Slaying God, are you scared today? Are you going to hide it from your own mother? Mother, haven't you noticed that your daughter's temperament has changed drastically since last year? Her ability has improved by leaps and bounds. Don't tell me you don't suspect it. The old man looked at Qin Yuru and said confidently. His words stumped Qin Yuru. Xiao Jian's temperament had changed drastically since last year and she had suddenly become so powerful. It was not that Qin Yuru did not suspect it. Qin Yuru looked at Yun Jian and hesitated for a while before saying, Xiao Jian, I believe you. Do you want to know? Just as Qin Yuru finished, Yun Jian cut her off. What? Qin Yuru was stunned. Do you want to know the truth? If Qin Yuru wanted to know the truth one day, she would not hide it from her. Yun Jian had expected this day to come sooner or later. Qin Yuru was stunned. Yun Jian's red lips curled up in front of everyone. She stood in front of Qin Yuru and spoke to Qin Yuru in front of Lin Mingyu, Lu Fian, Li Xiangyi, the neighbors including Qin Fangfang and Zhang Meihua who came out later. Chapter 17:13. Yun Jian uttered those words slowly and coldly in front of everyone. Everyone's expression darkened as they listened to Yun Jian's unhurried words. Silence, a deathly silence. It was dead silent. No one dared to make a sound at that moment. Yun Jian uttered those words in front of so many people, including her biological mother, Qin Yuru. If she was lying, where did she come up with such a lie? And at this very moment, even Lin Mingyu's master pointed out that she was slaying God? The crowd was confused, especially when Yun Jian uttered the last sentence. I'm number 1 on the international secret agent ranking, number 006, slaying God. It did not matter if it was Qin Yuru who stood nearby, Lu Fian, Li Xiangyi, Zhang Meihua, Qin Fangfang's family, Lin Mingyu and her neighbors who were completely stunned. An image flashed across everyone's eyes. In that image, Yun Jian stood in the middle with a butterfly knife dripping with blood in her hand. Corpses were strewn all around her. She was wounded all over, but she stood among the corpses as if nothing had happened to her. She was like a murderous king. She was the number 1 on the international secret agent ranking, number 006, slaying God. She was a top-notch existence that no one had ever imagined. This is impossible, this can't be. No wonder you've changed. I was wondering why, you suddenly became so strong when you were in the toilet a year ago. So you are. Lin Mingyu initially refuted. How could Yun Jian be the number 1 on the international secret agent ranking, slaying God? However, she suddenly realized something. A year ago, Yun Jian was still a slug who was so weak that she could be dragged into the toilet to be bullied. However, she had suddenly changed. It was then that she had suddenly changed. She had learned how to fight back. Her abilities had become terrifying. It was hard to fathom. At that time, Lin Mingyu was puzzled. Why did Yun Jian seem to have become another person? When Yun Jian admitted her identity earlier, Lin Mingyu thought it was impossible. The number 1 on the international secret agent ranking, slaying God. What kind of existence was that? Although they had never heard of Yun Jian's battle achievements, the first time they heard of this title, they felt that it was inconceivable. Therefore, Lin Mingyu felt that it was impossible. Slaying God, the top international secret agent ranking, how could she be Yun Jian? But in the end, even Lin Mingyu herself could not explain why Yun Jian had suddenly become so powerful. It was as if he was a completely different person. Therefore, Lin Mingyu changed her words. Everyone stared at the scene in front of them. At this moment, no one dared to say a word. Yun Jian stared intently at Qin Yuru. She saw that Qin Yiru's expression had changed from disbelief to shock. Qin Yiru had yet to put down her raised hands. She just stared at Yun Jian in a daze, unable to say a word. Yun Jian pursed her red lips and suddenly smiled. Since he had decided to talk about it, he might as well go all out. Mom, I'm sorry for keeping this a secret from you for so long. I'm also sorry that I'm not your biological daughter. I'm a secret agent trained by the Inhun organization. Serial number 006, code name Slaying God. I was once locked up with hundreds of children in the dark organization, but in the end they all died in my hands. Because if they didn't die, I would have been the one who died. I had no choice. I'm not the daughter you're familiar with, and I'm not the child you brought up. I'm just an orphan. I've killed countless people and my hands are stained with blood. Killing, war, heavy weapons, machinery and computer operations, I'm proficient in everything except family. You're the one who gave me an ordinary life and made me feel a mother's love. I yearn for that kind of mediocre but caring life. At this point Yun Jian paused for 2 seconds. She pursed her red lips and looked at Qin Yiru with her mouth slightly agape. Her tone was a little slow, as if she could not bring herself to ask but had to say it. This was the first time in her life that she was at a loss because of someone. So, can you still accept me like this? Chapter 17-14. The crowd was watching the scene unfold before them. At that moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on Yun Jian and Qin Yiru. Shock was unavoidable. What did Yun Jian say earlier? She said that her hands were stained with blood, that she had killed countless people, that she had been imprisoned with hundreds of children, and that she had killed them all. Killing, war, heavy weapons, machinery and computer operations, she was proficient in all of them. She was a mythical existence. Even the National College entrance examination top scholar whom the villagers looked up to might not be able to reach such a standard if placed on the same level as her, right? You really know so many things? Oh my God. You're a genius. Look at us, we've been studying for our whole lives but we don't even know what a computer is. A talkative old woman opened her mouth and looked at Yun Jian in shock and fear. Old women from the villages usually exaggerated their words, and this old woman was no exception. Granny, she's a secret agent. She'll kill people. Someone tugged at the old woman's sleeve and stepped back immediately. The moment the people around them heard that Yun Jian was a secret agent, they all took 2 steps back in fear. However, they were afraid that Yun Jian would be ruthless when they tried to leave, so at that moment, no one dared to leave. The neighbors looked at Yun Jian and stepped back in fear. Lin Mingyu and Yun Jian's classmates took a few steps back as well. Everyone looked at Yun Jian as if they had seen the god of plague. Yiru, your daughter has been possessed by this demon called Slaying God or something, right? Oh my. There's actually such a terrifying thing in this world. This demoness can kill people. Everyone stay away. Yiru, you should stay away too. Don't get killed. Ask her to leave quickly. Or ask the police to arrest her and shoot her. The old woman who spoke earlier reacted and immediately jeered. Soon someone else chimed in. That's right, that's right. I was wondering how your daughter became so powerful. She started a company and is a special force soldier. What's she so proud of? She's been possessed by a demon. In my opinion, she should die. Yuru, if you want to accept her, then get out of Xinjiang town. Don't ever come back. The people around began to point at Yun Jian and scold Qin Yuru as well. They might not have realized what the name, slaying god, meant. Yun Jian was not affected in the slightest by the people around her. At this moment, Yun Jian was sizing up Qin Yuru. She was waiting for Qin Yuru's reply. Not far away, Qin Yuru was speechless after hearing what Yun Jian had said. Qin Yuru opened her mouth several times wanting to say something, but her lips were trembling so badly that she couldn't say anything in the end. She suddenly realized that her biological daughter was no longer her biological daughter. It was not that she had no feelings for Yun Jian in the past year. Qin Yuru was a sentimental person. Moreover, Qin Yuru's adoption of Xiao Yunju, Duan Li and Duan Ye showed that she was not a selfish person. However, this had happened out of the blue. How was she supposed to accept or admit this fact? Ignorant fools. How dare you call slaying god a demon? I'm dying of laughter. Do you know what the name, slaying god, means? Slaying god, the number 1 on the international secret agent ranking. She started killing at 12 and killed the previous boss of kosher mercenaries at 14. The missions she took on cost at least $100 million USD in the market. Her assassination, cover, tracking and anti-tracking missions have never failed since she started her career. Her missions ranged from assassinating the president of a large country to hunting down commoners. And Hun's slaying god is fluent in 58 languages. She was once on the headlines of international newspapers and was listed as the most untouchable existence in the world. Someone said that those who are targeted by slaying god already have one foot in the coffin. Countless countries have offered her tens of billions of USD to work for them, but she rejected them all. How dare you call someone like her a demon? A demon. Leng Mei suddenly spoke up when the group of old women were openly attacking Yun Jian and telling Yun Jian to get lost. Her cold words were like a sharp sword, shocking the people who had no idea what slaying god meant. Slaying god. Chapter 17:15. Every word that Leng Mei said brought a sense of shock to everyone present, as if they had discovered a new world. The market price for Yun Jian's missions was no less than $100 million USD. What kind of shocking figure was that? Countless countries had offered her tens of billions of USD to work for their country, but she had rejected them all. From those few words, everyone present was shocked by one thing. That thing was, just how rich was Yun Jian. In addition to Yun Jian's frightening achievements, Leng Mei actually said that she was proficient in 58 languages. Was this really a person's ability? This was not something that could be described with the word genius. This was a terrifying existence that could not be proven by science. Everyone present, especially those old women who had said that Yun Jian was a demon, a ghost, or possessed by a fairy, were dumbfounded. No one had expected Yun Jian to be such a terrifying existence. These old women who lived in Xinjiang town and rarely left Xinjiang town could not imagine how terrifying a person's ability was at its peak. Yun Jian was an existence that frogs at the bottom of a well like them would never be able to touch. Tens of billions of USD. The few old women who had said bad things about Yun Jian hugged each other, their legs trembling in fear. Even if it was millions, it would be astronomical data to these old women, much less tens of billions. Tens of billions of USD. In 1999, in the eyes of these old women and the poor, it was an indescribable number. Those who were powerful would become rich, were uncountable, while those who were not powerful would stay in their families' 3 villages and 2 acres of land away, or living a mediocre to get out of Xinjiang town. What Yun Jian had was something that the farmers in Xinjiang town could only hear about for the rest of their lives. Of the people around her. They would never be able to touch it. She only stared at Qin Yiru. Therefore, if Qin Yiru was a normal woman, she would have accepted Yun Jian a long time ago. Together, it did not matter if she was the number one secret agent in the world, see through everyone's motives. Even if she did not accept her daughter would still not come back. Qin Yiru was not like under such circumstances. If it were other people, not better after hearing Leng Mei talk about Yun Jian's achievements, she could even cheat naturally think that Yun Jian was very rich. After hearing Leng Mei's words, the people around them, even if they had a few $100,000 in savings, however, Yun Jian knew that one of the wealthiest families in Xinjiang town. Seeing Qin Yiru in 1999, there were not many tycoons in this era. Yun Jian's heart chilled. This was because in the past, she curled her lips, but there was no emotion, shared their food equally. Yun Jian's heart chilled. They were not allowed to start their own businesses. Not belong later to the mundane on, there was world a policy no one in the mundane alone. World could accept. That was her. The citizens could start their own businesses and invest in nowhere to go after leaving. Of course, there were also some people who no one was willing to accept mediocre whose hands were stained with blood. As time went on, she had no choice but to return to that bloody world. Farmers grew for the past year. She had lived a normal life for so long. She thought that she could continue on like that. However, now, Mom, please allow me to address you as Mom again. I'm sorry. I know you're dying to know where your daughter is. If I have any clues in the future, I'll let you know immediately. Thank you for taking care of me for the past year. Yun Jian bowed at Qin Yiru calmly. Her heart was bleeding. However, as soon as she said that, Qin Yiru could no longer hold it in. She rushed over and hugged Yun Jian with trembling hands, just like how Qin Yiru hugged her a year ago when Yun Jian hugged her and told her, "Mom, you still have us." Chapter 17:16. Those who came out from the world of assassins and secret agents had no other choice but to die in battle. No one from the secular world would accept them because their hands were stained with blood. For an ordinary family, if they heard that someone had killed someone, their first reaction would definitely be to warn their family members to stay away from this person and not to get close to this murderer. Who knew when they would be killed by the murderer? This was a very realistic world. Although Yun Jian was ranked number 1 on the International Secret Agent ranking, and as slaying God, she was so powerful that she was omniscient and omnipotent. However, as a person in this world, she had no other choice and there was no turning back. Assassins and secret agents from the underground organizations could only die in battle and could never return to the ordinary world. That was because the people in the ordinary world would never allow an assassin or secret agent who had killed many to live near them and threaten their safety. If not for her rebirth, Yun Jian knew very well that someone of her status would never be able to come into contact with the ordinary world. There was only one outcome for her: death in battle. If she did not want to die in battle, she had to become stronger. She had to be so strong that no one could kill her. That was why Yun Jian had never stopped pursuing power in her previous life. Even after her rebirth, she had never stopped expanding her influence. She knew very well that there were many capable people in this world. She was powerful, but it did not mean that there was no one more powerful than her. What she wanted to do was to trample on those more powerful than her. That was survival. Yun Jian was fully prepared. She knew that Qin Yiru would find out that she was not her biological daughter one day. She was also prepared that Qin Yiru would not accept her. However, Yun Jian did not expect Qin Yiru to rush over and hug her at the last moment and say such words to her. Who in this world was not afraid of people who could kill? If it were someone else, they might acknowledge Yun Jian, but it was for the money. However, Qin Yiru did not covet a single cent from her. Yun Jian could feel the kinship she gave her. She reached out her right hand and placed it gently on her heart. Yun Jian took a deep breath. She could feel it. There was a slight warmth. This was the taste of kinship. Why are you crying? Don't cry. Qin Yiru hugged Yun Jian. After a while, she could feel a few drops of tears dripping down her shoulder. Those teardrops belonged to Yun Jian. Qin Yiru quickly turned to look at Yun Jian. She reached out and touched the tears on Yun Jian's face. Mom is here. Mom will never leave you. This is fate. It's not your fault. Qin Yiru rubbed away the tears on Yun Jian's face. She was also tearing up. Qin Yiru really wanted to ask where her daughter had gone, but at this moment she could not bring herself to ask. Moreover, Yun Jian had also said that she would inform him as soon as she had news of her biological daughter. Crying? Was she crying? Yun Jian was stunned for a moment. From the moment her tears fell until now, she had not made a sound. Tears flowed down her cheeks silently. She did not even realize it. Tears? Yun Jian caught the tears that fell from her eyes. She was in a trance for a moment. How many years had it been since she last cried? Ever since she came to terms with the truth, she had never shed a tear even when she was living a life where she could be killed at any time in the Hun organization. Even when she was covered in wounds. Things like tears would never appear on her body. However, today she actually shed tears? Hee. Slaying God, are you done catching up? Ah. It's time to settle our personal grudges. Chapter 17:17. As soon as the elderly man finished speaking, the atmosphere turned gloomy. The crowd was stunned by the shocking scene, unable to snap out of their daze for a moment. The elderly man's untimely remark made the crowd realize that Yun Jian and Qin Yiru were not the only ones present. Lin Mingyu's unpredictable master was also present. Moreover, this elderly man was the culprit who exposed Yun Jian's identity. Lin Mingyu noticed that her master was still standing beside Yun Jian, especially when her master had confidently pointed out Yun Jian's identity in front of her. Lin Mingyu suddenly had a mysterious confidence. She felt that her master's ability was definitely above Yun Jian's. Just because her master had pointed out Yun Jian's identity. Therefore, even if Yun Jian was slaying God, Lin Mingyu was not afraid. Because she had a master. Lin Mingyu looked at Yun Jian, snickered and said, "That's right, Yun Jian. Are you done catching up? Do you think you're all that just because you're slaying God? Do you think you can defeat my master? Moreover, so what if you're crying? Don't make it sound like you've never cried in your life. Do you really think you're someone high and mighty? Even if you're powerful, there's still my master. My master's ability isn't necessarily worse than yours." Just as Lin Mingyu finished her smug remark, the elderly man suddenly shouted at her, "Lin Mingyu, shut up. Do you want to die? She's slaying God." From what he said, it was obvious that the elderly man was still very afraid of Yun Jian. Yun Jian had already recovered from her earlier emotions. She turned her head sideways and shielded Qin Yiru behind her. Qin Yiru did not put on a brave front this time. She stood behind Yun Jian consciously and did not burden Yun Jian. Yun Jian's slightly red and swollen eyes instantly turned sharp. She glanced sideways and her sharp gaze landed on Lin Mingyu. Her tenderness towards Qin Yiru did not mean that Yun Jian would look at other people with red eyes. Her self-control was still outstanding. Scanning Lin Mingyu with a sharp gaze, Yun Jian's lips quirked up. Perhaps it was Qin Yiru's action just now that the burden in her heart had been lifted. Yun Jian could not be more relaxed right now. "Since you already know my identity, I might as well tell you that those who dared to insult me in the past, I will." Since this group of people knew her identity, then she, Yun Jian, would not be merciful. Just as Yun Jian said this, Lin Mingyu suddenly trembled. She suddenly recalled that Yun Jian had spoken to her in the same tone a year ago. What will happen? Lin Mingyu hid beside the old man but trembled under Yun Jian's sharp gaze. She forced herself to calm down but could not calm her emotions. Just as everyone gulped, Yun Jian, who was standing on the other side, spoke abruptly and said something that sent chills down the spines of the crowd. "Kill without mercy." Perhaps it was because they were certain of Yun Jian's identity and what Yun Jian had said earlier. If it were in the past, everyone present would have treated Yun Jian's words as a joke. However, at this moment, they could not help but tremble when they heard Yun Jian's words. She wanted to kill the other party just because of what she said. Was this the so-called slaying God? Slaying God, your opponent is me. The old man suddenly stood out and stared straight at Yun Jian. He spoke arrogantly as if he would not stop until he killed Yun Jian. Just as the old man finished speaking, a tall figure walked in from the main entrance. The tall figure scanned the entire place coldly and was enraged when he saw Yun Jian's red and swollen eyes. Chapter 17:18. Si Yi's sudden appearance had everyone rooted to the spot in shock. Especially Qin Yiru. Yun Jian wasn't surprised that Si Yi had returned to an Hun organization in the morning, so why was he back now? Qin Yiru and Yun Jian had personally watched Si Yi drive away in the morning, so she couldn't help but be a little surprised to see Si Yi back. Si Yi had indeed left in the morning, and the private helicopter that Mo Sen had sent to pick him up was already on its way to an Hun organization. Later, there was suddenly news that someone was looking for trouble with Yun Jian, so Si Yi turned back without a second thought. Looking at Si Yi entering through the main entrance, and the arrogant words he had said when he entered, everyone looked at him. Obviously they were shocked by Si Yi's words. Si Yi's words had shocked them. Si Yi's tall and slender figure was getting closer and closer to Yun Jian. The moment he saw Si Yi, the old man's eyes twitched fiercely. Si Yi walked quickly to Yun Jian and hugged Yun Jian in front of everyone present. Seeing Yun Jian's red eyes, his expression flashed fiercely, and even his eyebrows twitched. At the main entrance, after Ce entered, two handsome figures immediately followed him in. One of the figures had a deep scar on his neck, and just looking at it was enough to make people tremble in fear. The other handsome figure was much calmer. Naturally, it was Shuiying and Mo Senator. After Shuiying and Mo Sen entered, a large group of people rushed in through the main entrance. These people were all dressed in black, and their entire bodies were covered tightly, only revealing a pair of dark eyes. The group of people who entered followed behind Shuiying and Mo Sen, and each of them carried a machine gun. Just looking at their formation was enough to shock everyone present. There was no doubt that these people were the top assassins of an Hun organization, each of them experienced in battle. Even Lin Mingyu's master, the old man, shuddered at the sight. Not to mention the reactions of the people around them. Ce had already pulled Yun Jian into his arms. He had already pulled Yun Jian into his embrace and stretched out his slender hand to caress the area around Yun Jian's red eyes. "Xiao Jian, who bullied you? Tell me, I'll send them to hell." Ce spat coldly. As he spoke, his arm was wrapped around Yun Jian's waist, his sharp gaze as if he would annihilate everyone present for her with a single word from Yun Jian. Who bullied her? Was it not Qin Yiru who moved Yun Jian to tears just now? No one dared to make a sound. Yun Jian was slaying God, the top international secret agent ranking. How ordinary could Ce be when he could be with Yun Jian? The neighbors had all seen Ce before. Qin Yiru usually treated Ce as his son-in-law, so they could recognize Ce. In spite of it, the current Ce struck fear into everyone's hearts. "I'm fine." Yun Jian nestled in Ce's arms, feeling her heart calm down completely. The person who made her cry was her mother. If they were to settle the score, was Ce supposed to take it out on Qin Yiru? "Are you really okay?" Ce took a few glances at Yun Jian. He rubbed Yun Jian's head and paused before looking up abruptly. His gaze that was so gentle that it made everyone present think that he would do anything for Yun Jian was as sharp as a reaper's. After a 2-second pause, Ce's words made everyone's expression change. Ce ordered Snow Eagle and Mo Sen to carry out his orders in front of everyone. Chapter 17-19. 10 seconds was the slowest time he had given them. Ce was furious. Ce looked different from others when he was enraged. Yun Jian could tell from his furrowed brows. Ce's brows were furrowed, the veins around his brows twitching. It was the first time his handsome face had such an expression. How dare they make his woman cry? All of them would go to hell. Hold on. This is because Qin Yiru looked at the group of people Ce had brought into the house. Each of them was holding a machine gun. She did not think that Ce was joking, so she quickly stopped him. It was useless for Qin Yuru to say anything now. The deaths of the people present when he saw Yun Jian's reddened eyes just now. At this moment, Yun Jian, 20 years of life, he had always been indifferent. Her master in her previous life was about to explode and the sky was about to collapse. This old man was no other expression on his face. In addition to this old man's various actions, it was not difficult to guess that this old man had nothing to do with the Yulong continent. The Xiao Jian, whom even he could not bear to bully, this old man was just the apple of his eye that her master met on earth dropping and melting in his master, was actually crying this old man had nothing to do with the Yulong continent. He was truly enraged now. Of course, if the old man knew that she and her master were from the Yulong continent intervention, and that she was the sorcerer goddess of Yun's biological mother after all, would not dare to cause trouble here even if he had 10 times toward Yun Jian. As the sorcerer intervention was Yun Jian could tell if this old man had any spiritual energy waves. The answer was no. If everyone here is dead, it will be the relationship between the old man and her master. hawk-like gaze was reflected on Shui as the sorcerer senator starting from just now. Did not plan to tell 10 seconds to finish off everyone here. Yun Jian was now powerful enough to protect Qin Yuru due to the danger brought by the identity of the ones who would die would be Shuang and However, she had no idea how much danger the identity of the sorcerer goddess would bring to Qin Yuru. Hadn't been this angry for many years. The continuous appearance of the mysterious man in the black robe man, the last time he was so angry was when she died in her previous life. She still needed to slowly explore all of these. He was furious because the sorcerer goddess did not attend the ceremony unless it was absolutely necessary. The king of the Yulong words were more said that the sorcerer goddess would not attend the ceremony. And Sen did not hesitate was so furious that he tore the ruler of the Yulong assassins behind them to put down their machine guns. After the matter at that time came out, Lord Divine Lord's ruthlessness was thoroughly spread out. I'm leaving now. This time, Shuang and Sen felt Siyi's anger once again. Slaying God, with a wave of their hands, they were about to launch a barrage of bullets viciously at Yun Jian. Yun Jian's as soon as he finished speaking, he jumped up. It's intending to escape from the eaves under everyone's watchful eyes. The surrounding people were indeed innocent. Today, when Yun Jian revealed her identity, therefore the old man thought of a countermeasure. Everyone present watched the scene and had to survive here. However, it would be enough to make these people lose all their memories of what they saw today. With Yun Jian in his arms. If people died here, it would not be the same thing. Siyi was one step ahead of the old man in the air. He stood in the air and with a kick from his slender thigh, he sent the old man crashing to the ground from mid-air. Siyi landed on the ground. He looked askance at the old man and said coldly, "You want to leave after bullying my woman? Leave your head behind." Chapter 17:20. The blade flashed, and the blade reflected a dazzling light under the blazing sun overhead. The light flashed in front of everyone's eyes. They did not even see when Siyi struck. All they saw was the flash of light. Before the old man on the ground could react, his head had been split in half. His head and body were split in half. The old man's eyes were still wide open. His head and body had been split in half. He died with his eyes wide open. As the old man died, his eyes were still wide open, unwilling to close. He's dead? He's dead. He's dead. Ah. The group of old women around them reacted the quickest and screamed the loudest. Those who did not know better would have thought that they were the ones who died. Siyi had finished off the old man in one move. That speed was so fast that no one knew when he had struck with his saber. H Fu? Die, master is dead. Lin Mingyu's pupils suddenly shrank. She was so frightened that her expression changed. It was as if she had heard something horrifying. Her lips turned white and she stood rooted to the ground, trembling. Lin Mingyu's senior brothers were all dumbfounded. They did not see wrongly. When the old man saw Ce and said those words, he did not even care about their lives and escaped alone. If the old man had managed to escape by himself, then the few senior brothers of Lin Mingyu who were with him would have died without a doubt. But the old man failed to escape. But it was undeniable that the old man did not care about his own disciples at all just to save his own life. In addition, his master, who was extremely arrogant just a second ago, had his head chopped off at this moment. Therefore, Lin Mingyu's senior brothers could not react to the old man's selfishness and escape without caring about their lives. Now the old man was beheaded and died on the spot. Compared to Lin Mingyu's senior brothers, Lu Fian, Li Xiangyi, and the rest were in a daze from the beginning. What the hell is going on? Lu Fian, Li Xiangyi, and the rest were so shocked by the scene before them that they could not react. As for Zhang Meihua, Qin Fangfang and the rest, they were completely dumbfounded. Siyi had personally killed him. Shuang and Sen both swallowed hard. How long had it been since their young master had personally taken action? Normally, Siyi wouldn't make a move as these trash were so weak that he didn't even need to do anything. But just now their young master made a move again. Shuang and Sen swallowed and sighed at Yun Jian's charm. It seemed that young madam's charm was too great. Just now, when Yun Jian asked Ce to go east, she didn't dare to go west. When she asked Ce to stop, she didn't even dare to let out a fart. Shuiying felt that he needed to have a good chat with Adam. Next time they shouldn't work so hard to curry favor with Yun Jian. This was equivalent to currying favor with their young master. If Ce heard of Shuiying's plan, she would probably send him flying with a slap. Mom? Younger sister. What happened? Just then a few silhouettes walked in from the main entrance. Upon closer inspection, it was Yun Yi, Qing Yu and Gun Yanji. Yun Yi and Qing Yu entered the courtyard side by side while Gun Yanji followed them in alone. Yun Yi frowned when he saw the scene around him, but he was not too shocked. He already knew his younger sister Yun Jian's identity. In addition, he had been training with Zhang Xiaofeng and Yun Jian these days. Although he was unfamiliar with such a scene, he was not shocked. As soon as Qing Yu walked in, she gloated at Leng Mei's misfortune in front of everyone. Chapter 1721. What? My leader is here. Are you kidding me? I just snuck out, okay? How did he find me so quickly? Oh my god. I don't want to go back. Help me find a place to hide. Hearing Qing Yu's words, Leng Mei, who had been standing where she was with her arms crossed in front of her as if she was watching a show, darkened her expression. In the next second, Leng Mei's face was as swollen as charcoal. She jumped up and looked left and right. There was nowhere to hide. There's a pigsty over there. Leng Mei, go hide for a while. It's useless to hide in the house. A pigsty is the best. Even if your leader is here, he won't enter the pigsty to look for you. Gun Yanji gave Leng Mei a kind suggestion. Yes. Hide in the pigsty. What? You want me to hide in the pigsty? She was Leng Mei, the blood doll's top expert. Gun Yanji was asking for a beating. She wanted her to hide in the pigsty. Leng Mei's expression darkened immediately. Do you want to be caught? Gun Yanji instigated again. People in the countryside usually had a pigsty because the elderly in the countryside would usually stay at home to farm. Since there were many vegetables at home, people in the countryside would usually raise 1 or 2 or 3 piglets at home. The extra vegetables would be eaten by the pigs so that it would not go to waste. This was considered a custom in the countryside because raising 1 or 2 piglets at home and slaughtering them for New Year's was a special way to celebrate the new year. Of course, people in the past did not raise piglets for New Year's. They were so poor that they could not even afford to eat. There were many people who died of starvation in the old days. Even if the pigs were slaughtered at home for New Year's, they were not for their family but to be sold. Pork could be sold for a lot of money. Zhang Meihua's pigsty had 3 pigs and they were already the size of adult pigs. Leng Mei was the blood doll's top expert, which meant that her ability must be extraordinary. In addition to Leng Mei's usual attire, she was quite presentable. Asking her to hide in the pigsty? This was driving her crazy. The last time she was caught, she was pinned to the bed by their leader for 3 days and 3 nights. This time she had escaped with great difficulty. Their Lord Chief could be deceived by her once, but he couldn't be deceived by her a second time. She would not be able to escape this time. Leng Mei clenched her teeth and went all out. Hide. I'll hide. With that, Leng Mei jumped into the pigsty. Towards Leng Mei, this foreign creature, the pigs in the pigsty all howled a few times. After a while, it was unknown what Leng Mei did, but the pigs stopped howling. Ahem. Even Yun Jian couldn't help but twitch her mouth when she saw this scene. At this moment, Ce walked over and pulled her into his embrace. Gun Yanji and Leng Mei's actions amused everyone present. However, other than Yun Yi, Qing Yu and a few others, the people around them dared not move an inch from the old man's corpse. Let us go. We promise we won't go out and say anything, Yiru. Yiru. Tell your daughter to let us go. We promise that we won't tell anyone. I promise I won't say anything. I'm begging you. Let us go. The group of old women knelt before Qin Yiru and begged for mercy from the scene before them. Do you still want to live in this world after knowing my identity? Yun Jian raised her brows and asked softly. Necessary intimidation was necessary. Yun Jian's words caused another round of panic. As long as you don't kill us, we'll do anything you want us to. Anything. The people around them knelt on the ground in fear, some even kowtowed to Yun Jian. Yun Jian's eyes shone. She then signaled Qing Yu with a look so that everyone present, other than Qin Yiru, Yun Yi, and those who should not have their memories erased, had to drink the 3-hour amnesia liquid. This was Yun Jian's ultimate goal. Even Lu Fian, Li Xiangyi, and the rest were not spared. The corpses and blood on the ground were quickly cleaned up by In Hun's people. Everything returned to how it was before. Chapter 1722. Everyone fainted after drinking the amnesia liquid for 3 hours. They would not remember what had just happened when they woke up. Of course, it would take some time for them to wake up after drinking the amnesia liquid for 3 hours. Lu Fian, Li Xiangyi, Lin Mingyu and everyone else present had no idea what the amnesia liquid was. However, due to what Yun Jian had said earlier, they would die if they did not drink the liquid. Therefore, everyone drank it obediently. What a joke. After knowing that Yun Jian was slaying God, they did not even dare to refute Yun Jian. Judging from the series of actions earlier, Yun Jian's ability to kill was no joke. Therefore, the group drank the amnesia liquid obediently. Of course, Lu Fian, Li Xiangyi, and the rest drank the liquid as well. Although they had no idea what it was, they believed that Yun Jian would not harm them. Currently, the group was unconscious on the ground and would only wake up after a while. Fortunately, the amnesia liquid that Qin Yu had specially developed did not have any side effects and could be used multiple times on the same person. Di Lin's sudden appearance gave Qin Yu another shock. However, Qin Yu had enough scares today. 1 or 2 more would not make a difference. Di Lin, who appeared at the entrance of the courtyard, looked around and asked Yun Jian, "Has Leng Mei been here before?" Di Lin asked Yun Jian because he thought that Yun Jian would not lie to him. Yun Jian's red lips curved slightly. Just as she was about to betray Leng Mei, she heard Leng Mei's warning imitating a pig's cry from the pigsty next door. "Ow ow humph humph." The impersonation was quite accurate. If Leng Mei had not jumped into the pigsty earlier, Yun Jian would not have been able to tell whether the cry was a real pig's cry or Leng Mei's voice. The pig's cry was too prominent, similar to Leng Mei's cries in bed. Di Lin turned to look at the pigsty. "She hasn't been here." Yun Jian leaned her back gently against Si Yi's chest. She pursed her lips and lied without batting an eyelid. Yun Jian suspected that she had been possessed by Si Yi. I'm getting better at lying." At this moment, Di Lin was already walking towards the pigsty. "Damn these lazy pigs. I just fed you pig food this morning and now you're squawking, 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 squawking. What the hell are you screaming for? Here's the pig feed." At that moment, Gun Yanji, who was standing not too far away from the pigsty, had an idea. She grabbed the pig food next to the pigsty and poured it all into the pigsty. Wheeze, wheeze. The pigs in the pigsty all let out satisfied noises and began to scramble for the pig food. Seeing this, Di Lin went into the room to check. He didn't see Leng Mei. He left behind a relatively handsome back view and left. After making sure that Di Lin had left, Gun Yanji dragged Leng Mei out of the pigsty. Reality proved that Leng Mei had chased Gun Yanji around Xinjiang town for dozens of rounds. Inside the room, Yun Yi, Qin Yu, Yun Jian, Qin Yu, and Si Yi sat together at the table. Knowing that Qin Yu already knew the truth, Yun Yi opened her mouth, but it was Qin Yu who asked first. "Xiao Yi, you've known about this for a long time, haven't you?" Qin Yu asked Yun Yi if she knew that Yun Jian was no longer the Yun Jian of the past. "Brother found out not too long ago," Yun Jian suddenly said, then leaned on Si Yi's shoulder and told Yun Yi and Qin Yu. Chapter 1723. Yun Jian told Qin Yiru and Yun Yi everything about her. Other than what happened in Yulong mainland and some things that could not be said, she had told them everything she could. After listening to what Yun Jian said, Qin Yiru completely believed that the woman in front of her was not her biological daughter. Qin Yiru was upset, but there was nothing she could do. I don't know where the real Yun Jian went, but I promise that I'll do my best to find her. Yun Jian's determined gaze tugged at Qin Yiru's heartstrings. No. This is her fate. All of this is fate. Child, you're my child. This isn't your fault. You shouldn't go through this. Qin Yiru was worried that Yun Jian would get into trouble while searching for her daughter. Hence, Qin Yiru grabbed Yun Jian. How could Qin Yiru not want to find her biological daughter? She should not and would never force Yun Jian to help her search. Yun Jian was a child who had a hard life. She had lived in a place like that in her past life and suffered so much. Your mom, Xiao Jian, from now on. Mom will love you forever. Qin Yiru told Yun Jian as she tugged at her hand. You have to be good to my younger sister or I won't let you go as her brother. Yun Yi gestured at Si. Qin Yiru and Yun Yi were indirectly acknowledging Yun Jian. They were a family. Mom, brother, thank you. Yun Jian's heart warmed. She felt like she had someone to rely on right now. This was the reliance that came from family. I'll protect her with my life. Si grabbed Yun Jian's soft hand and told Yun Yi and Qin Yiru solemnly. Yun Yi and Qin Yiru were comforted by the gesture. Yun Jian breathed a sigh of relief after what happened in Xinjiang town. It was also a relief for Yun Jian when Qin Yiru learned the truth. Other than Qin Yiru who knew the truth, everyone else had forgotten what happened that day. Of course that was except for those who already knew. Si and Shuang returned to an Hun group. Before they left, Si had left her most capable assistant, Mo's son, to work under Yun Jian. This Saturday, after visiting Chin Sini at Longmen City People's Hospital, Yun Jian was invited by Su Mei to visit Luo Berry's house. Su Mei and Luo Berry were acquainted with Yun Jian in the selection field. When they first entered the field, Su Mei was older and often took care of Yun Jian and Luo Berry. Su Mei invited Yun Jian to visit Luo Berry's house this week and Yun Jian did not refuse. Before they left, Yun Jian even called Mo Sen, the assistant that Si had left for her, along. Luo Berry's family was rich. How rich were they? Based on their family's wealth, it was more than enough to buy hundreds of helicopters. Luo Berry's family was located in Donglin City in the northern province. Donglin City was a coastal city and the property prices here were very high. It was one of the first-tier cities in country Z. Luo Berry's house was located halfway up a tall mountain. This entire mountain was her family's property. The owners of Luo Berry's house were Luo Berry's grandfather and grandmother. Her family was a more feudal family. Luo Berry's father and mother lived together with her uncles, aunts, and uncles. Mo's son, who followed behind Yun Jian and Su Mei, was no different from a bodyguard. They had finally arrived at the entrance of Luo Berry's house halfway up the mountain. Luo Berry had been waiting there since early morning. When she saw Yun Jian and Su Mei, Luo Berry pounced on them. I'm so happy that you guys can come to our house to play. Luo Berry hugged Yun Jian and Su Mei. Luo Berry was 1.6 meters tall with a slim figure. She was already 18 years old but she looked like she was only 14 or 15 years old. She looked very young. After hugging Yun Jian and Su Mei, Luo Berry glanced behind Yun Jian and Su Mei and saw Mo's son, who was calm and silent, standing behind them. Why was he here too? Chapter 1724. She turned around and saw Mo's son standing behind Yun Jian. His sharp eyes were looking straight ahead. He did not even look at her as if they had never met before. Luo Berry's heart sank. She did not know why. She had nothing to do with him, but when she saw him looking at her with the gaze of a stranger, she felt disappointed. Little strawberry. Little strawberry. Little strawberry. Why are you in a daze? Have you been mesmerized by Sister Unlucky's valiant demeanor? Su Mei called out the nickname she gave Luo Berry a few times and flipped her short hair, showing off in front of Luo Berry and Yun Jian unabashedly. Little Strawberry was the nickname Su Mei gave Luo Berry. Although Su Mei was a woman, she had short and delicate hair, which made her look like a tomboy. After calling Luo Berry back to her senses, Su Mei walked over and put one hand on Luo Berry's shoulder. She put the other hand on Yun Jian's shoulder and led them into the villa. Let's go. However, it's my first time visiting such a high-class place. And Mo's son into the house. Little Strawberry, you have to be a good guide. A little like Luo Mei among the group of boys and girls standing next to her. Su Mei had a straightforward personality. Little Berry, who was like a heroine. Of course, it was because of this that Yun Jian did not hate her. Originally, when Luo Berry brought Yun Jian, recovered from her earlier expression, No one could had a straightforward personality. The group of boys and girls around was like a man and did not have any meticulous thoughts. But when this boy who looked a little like Luo Berry spoke, notice the way everyone looked at Mo. If it was said that the people that Yunjian met in the past were mostly rich people in disguise, then at this moment therefore she saw Luo Berry standing in front of Mo Senator, however, which one of them did not say a rich family. Luo Berry's villa occupied a large area. Family would make friends with people from the basketball courts. If a child was not an exaggeration, friends with a child looking in from the main entrance, they would be laughed at. There were endless lawns and flower wasn't dressed well. There was no trace of the villa. Her family was poor. The clothes she bought were very ordinary. A villa was only that big. It was considered presentable among ordinary house from the main entrance. The clothes that Yunjian and Mo's son were wearing belonged from the house to the gate. But Yunjian and Mo's son didn't wear famous brands to show off how big Luo Berry's house was. But the group of boys and girls standing in the distance all determined a person's status based on their clothes. It took more than 10 minutes to get from the gate to her house for people like these who had been pampered and spoiled. After getting out of the car, Yunjian and the rest were not dressed by the luxurious but in their eyes, they were like frogs at the bottom of a well. Of course, it wasn't her fault. Immediately, a girl who was wearing famous brands wasn't very good. It was the first time she had seen such a place, so it was no wonder that she was a little surprised. And the rest as if they were a joke. As soon as he got out of the car, he saw a group of young men and women standing at the main entrance of the villa. These young men and women were all dressed up in famous brands. At first glance, he could tell that they were the princesses and young masters of the upper class. Come in. I'll make tea for you. Luo Berry took Yunjian and Su Mei's hands and walked into the house. Chapter 1725. The cousin who just called Luo Mei was called Luo Xiling. He had good facial features and looked modest. The girl who spoke later was called Xiang Jai. She was a friend of Luo Mei's cousin. Her family was also very rich. If she could hang out with Luo Xiling's group of young masters and princesses, her family would not be too bad. At this moment Luo Mei, who was called, paused. Yunjian was right. When Luo Xiling called Luo Mei's body shrank obviously. There was a moment of fear. Let's go. Ignore them. Luo Mei hurriedly pulled Yunjian and Su Mei into the house. Luo Mei was 18 years old. She was petite and cute. Because of her baby face, her skin was as smooth and delicate as a newborn baby's, so she looked only 14 or 15 years old. Rich ladies such as Xiang Jia were born ugly. Her appearance was very dark and her skin was terrible. However, she covered her terrible skin with branded cosmetics and slightly warmed it up. Luo Mei was the kind of person who did not need skincare products at all. Her facial features were delicate and beautiful since she was a child. Although her slender legs were not very long, they were in the golden ratio with her upper body. She was very beautiful. Xiang Jai was very envious. So when she saw Yunjian, Su Mei and Mo's son dressed very ordinary, she took this opportunity to suppress Luo Mei. However, one thing had to be said. Mo's son was the most handsome man present, and Xiang Jai was really attracted to him. In spite of it, Mo's son stood behind Yunjian without uttering a word, not even glancing at anyone. In addition, Luo Berry's usual friends were not the young masters and Luo Mei was about to take Yunjian and others into the villa. Luo Xiling interrupted Xiang Jai stood in front of Yunjian but Madame Luo was usually not at home. You can't say that. Why was she at home now? Everyone is equal, no matter who is rich or poor. She wasn't afraid that Madame Luo would blame her for making friends with people who weren't from the upper class. Then he instead she was afraid that Madame Luo wouldn't be nice to Yunjian. My friend offended you just now, so I'd like to apologize. Luo Berry had to compromise. Also, we're planning to go to our own racetrack built by the Luo family first. If you're free, why don't you come and have some fun? Yunjian didn't say anything since the beginning, then Luo Xiling but she could feel that Luo Berry's family wasn't an ordinary one. If you want to go by yourself. Their family was strict, and the atmosphere was probably not very good. Luo Berry's reaction was very strong. Racing was one of the after-dinner activities of this group of rich second-generation heirs. Little sister Little Berry and the Luo family had their own racetrack. We just saw old Lady Luo in the house. Watch who persuaded old Lady Luo to bring Yunjian and the others to the racetrack. A boy dressed in branded clothes and wearing a very expensive Swiss watch with a mouth that loved to show off. The boys from poor families had their own way of showing off, speaking to Luo, and boys from rich families also had their own way of showing off in front of girls. Old Madame Luo was Luo's grandmother. Madame Luo was an already woman with a very feudal mindset and kept asking Yunjian questions. She usually didn't like Luo Berry. If it weren't for Mo Sen who was standing around, Shi Qinshan would have stuck to Yunjian at this moment. You're Yunjian? What a beautiful name. Have you ever raced before? Shi Qinshan asked. How can a girl like her play racing? A boy next to Shi Qinshan interrupted and came over. You're right. Shi Qinshan patted his head. Yunjian didn't say a word since just now. At this time, in order to show off, the group of boys began to flaunt in front of the girls. Hey, do you know the SS in the racing world? Isn't that the top figure in the racing world? I heard that the SS appeared in Maryland and Country M some time ago. Is this true? It must be true. One of my buddies saw it with their own eyes. Chapter 1726. Along the way, Qin Xian and the others bragged about their driving skills, as if they were the top racers. Yunjian was immune to it and she didn't say a word. Young boys and girls gathered together. Regardless of whether they were rich or poor, these boys always liked to talk about things that sounded impressive to the girls. Moreover, whenever something was mentioned, this group of boys would always brag about the top few world-shaking existences. In the racing circle, the most famous car in the world was SS. Therefore these boys liked to brag about SS. This was not the first time they had mentioned it. Yunjian didn't even bother to reply. When they arrived at the racetrack, these boys fought to be the first to show off their skills. Yunjian, Su Mei, Luo Berry, and Mo Sen sat on the spectator stand and didn't look at these boys at all. There was no one around, only the four of them. Su Mei asked Luo Berry her doubts. Little Strawberry, who is Madame Luo? She's my grandma. Luo Berry's frown was now slightly relaxed. She's more domineering. She forced my friends to me since I was young and then... Luo Berry suddenly stopped talking. Later she met her good friend, but in the end her good friend's boyfriend cheated on her. Because her family was rich, her boyfriend turned around and pursued her. Her good friend broke up with her because of this and even insulted her as a whore. But she couldn't say these words out loud. Luo Berry stopped talking halfway, but the people present could understand the meaning of Luo Berry's words. If Luo Berry had brought the three of them home, Madame Luo would have looked at them coldly and mocked them. No one noticed that Mo Sen's sharp eyes flashed slightly when he heard Luo Mei's dejected words. When my grandma leaves later, we can go back. Luo Berry looked at Yunjian and then at Su Mei and suddenly grinned. Madame Luo didn't live in the Luo family's main house. She liked peace and quiet, so she lived in a small villa not far from the Luo family's main house. It was rare for her to come back. From the racetrack they could see if there were any cars driving out of the gate. After basking in the sun for about half an hour, she saw the figure of old Lady Luo's private driver driving her away. Seeing this, Luo Huan stood up and said to Yunjian and the other two, "Let's go." On the other side, Qin Xian, who had been racing a few rounds to attract Yunjian's attention, saw that Yunjian and the others were about to leave. He quickly rushed over and asked, "You guys are leaving?" "Okay." Luo Huan nodded and left with Yunjian and Su Mei without greeting Shi Qinshan and the others. Luo Mei's behavior was very unusual. Seeing this, Yunjian did not say anything. After staying at Luo Berry's house for a day, Luo Berry asked Yunjian and the others to stay overnight. The Luo family had a special room for guests and the room was like a hotel. Someone would come and clean it every day. In the evening, Yunjian was sleeping alone on the bed with her eyes closed. Suddenly there was a strange sound of footsteps outside the door. It was not the sound of someone passing by. She turned over and stood up, opened the door and chased after it. Looking at that sneaky figure, Yunjian's eyes turned sharp. Wasn't that Luo Xiling, Luo Huan's cousin? What did he want to do? Yunjian's flexible figure was as fast as lightning, and she caught up with him without leaving a trace. When turning a corner, Yunjian bumped into a group of people. That group of people were the boys who raced with Luo Xiling during the day, including Xiang Jia who mocked Yunjian at the beginning. The Luo family had a special VIP hotel, so this group of people often stayed at the Luo family's house. It was no secret. At this time, Luo Xiling's expression, which was sneaky as if he was going to do something bad, suddenly became normal. He also greeted the friends he met along the way. "Where are you going, brother?" Shi Qinshan asked Luo Xiling. "I'm going to the rooftop for a walk," Luo Xiling said and walked through these people naturally. Yunjian also pretended that nothing happened and walked to Luo Xiling. No one noticed her at first. But Xiang Jia was not happy with Luo Berry, and she was also not happy with Yun Jian. When she saw Yun Jian walking over there, she immediately called out to Yun Jian. Chapter 1727. Xiang Jia's gaze on Yun Jian was blatant disgust. Yun Jian originally planned to pretend that she didn't see this group of people and follow Luo Xiling silently. But Xiang Jia stopped in front of her and looked at her with an expression that said, "I know what you want to do." As a rich second generation, Xiang Jia was very confident in her suspicions. What was Yun Jian doing out here in the middle of the night instead of sleeping? Besides seducing the rich second generation, what else could a poor person like her do? Xiang Jia directly identified Yun Jian as that kind of woman. Because Yun Jian didn't refute her words since the day, Xiang Jia regarded Yun Jian as a girl who wanted to please her and didn't dare to refute her. Therefore Xiang Jia sneered at Yun Jian even more. "Why aren't you talking? Like I said, someone like you, I already know who you're fighting." Before Xiang Jia finished her words, Yun Jian's sharp eyes suddenly glanced at Xiang Jia, and then in front of Xiang Jia and the surrounding boys who wanted to show off in front of the girls in the afternoon, she mercilessly attacked Xiang Jia. "Your family's property is not enough for me to buy 3 fighter jets. What's the use of it?" Yun Jian didn't say anything and everyone present thought that she had nothing to say. After all, Luo Xiling's family was so rich, and there were rich second-generation young masters and princesses living in the family. How could an ordinary girl not be envious when she lived here? Envy was so one thing that getting it was another thing, and she quickly closed the door. But a girl who wanted to be a phoenix, the door was blocked by Luo Xiling. Wasn't that the same thing? "Cousin, why are you here?" But to everyone's surprise, what are you doing? Yun Jian actually said such arrogant words. For help. Luo Berry's face turned pale. Xiang Jia was stunned by Yun Jian's words, and she couldn't react no matter a long time. "Today I finally got the another
chance.
girl standing next to Xiang
kid,
Jia couldn't stand it anymore.
I still have to
retorted
thank
to Yun
that kid
Jian
today.
again. Look
If
at
it wasn't
yourself.
for him,
How would
why
you
don't
be
you
willing
take a
to
look
open
at
the door
yourself?
for me?
A fighter
My
jet?
good sister, let
Have
me
you
show
ever
you
flown
some
a fighter
love."
jet?
Luo
I think you
Xiling
don't even
changed
know
his
how to
elegant
drive a
demeanor
car.
during the day and
What
turned
fighter
into a
jet?
beast
Puff.
of love.
I'm dying
Yun
of
Jian's
laughter.
eyes flashed sharply.
After the girl finished
Just as
her
she was
words,
about to make a
Xiang
move,
Jia's
she
face
saw
became
a
a
black
little
shadow
better,
flash
and
by.
then
Then she followed the girl to fight back against Yun
Chapter
Jian.
1728.
But at this moment,
Yun
Yun Jian's
Jian's
action made Yun Jian,
and
who had planned to come out, hide in the dark and look at him coldly.
didn't stop Yun
She
Jian
had
at this
felt that
time.
Luo Berry's
She
cousin
stood
was not
behind
right,
and
but
ridiculed
she
Yun
didn't
Jian
expect
until Yun
he
Jian's
actually
figure
laid hands
disappeared
on
in
his
front of
cousin.
everyone's eyes.
He could even do this kind of incestuous thing. Yun Jian had seen her fair share of things, so she was only taken aback for a moment.
Look,
Luo Xiling's body was like
look,
a kite with a
was
broken
hiding.
string,
Luo
smashed to the ground. Seeing the scene where Luo Xiling wanted to humiliate Luo Berry, Emo's son had an impulse to blow Luo Xiling's voice was the same as Berry was wearing strawberry pajamas, which was a one-piece style. Luo Meiyue's bedroom door she was frightened by Luo Xiling's action and sat on the ground, holding her knees and sobbing. Luo Xiling was kicked by Emo's son and fainted after landing. Emo's son didn't know where he got his anger from. He was about to go over and kill Luo Xiling directly. But he saw Luo Berry holding her knees and trembling, squatting and sobbing. Her underwear under the dress was exposed. Fortunately there was no one around, so Emo's son let Luo Xiling go. He took off his coat, walked over and put it on Luo Berry, pulled Luo Berry up and hugged her in front of his chest. Even Emo's son himself didn't know why he hugged Luo Berry. Perhaps it was because it was too distressing to see her sobbing like this. The sound of Luo Xiling being kicked by Emo's son just now shocked everyone in the villa. After things calmed down, everyone was called to the villa hall. Old Madame Luo had rushed over from another villa overnight. When she arrived and saw Yun Jian, Su Mei and Emo's son's attire, she gave them a cold look. Especially when Emo's son was hugging Luo Berry. At this moment, Luo Berry was only wearing Emo's son's coat. Her bottom was not exposed, but her white and slender thighs were exposed. When she saw Luo Xiling fainted on the ground, Mrs. Luo was angry. What's the matter? There were many people standing around, including Xiang Jia and Shi Qinshan. Everyone stood in place. There was a boy who was Luo Xiling and Luo Berry's cousin. He didn't know the specific situation, but he knew that Mrs. Luo loved Luo Xiling the most. So the boy talked to Mrs. Luo and pointed to Emo's son who was holding Luo Berry. It's him. Damn it, he must have plagiarized his cousin. Even now he still refused to let go. Cousin would definitely find out about this and stop it. In the end it turned out like this. The boy's words made old Madame Luo frown. She didn't like Luo Mei to begin with and now she hated her even more. Knowing that Yun Jian and the other two were brought into the house by Luo Berry, Madame Luo hated people like Yun Jian who had no status, so she said in a domineering and feudal way, the Luo family doesn't have a descendant like Luo Berry. Shameless. hooking up with a wild man who came out of nowhere. You even brought her into our house." Just as Madame Luo was about to continue speaking, Yun Jian immediately interrupted her. "He's my subordinate. Old hag, I dare you to say the word, wild man, again." Yun Jian's words shocked everyone present. Who was Madame Luo? In the Luo family, other than Old Master Luo, Old Madame Luo was the most authoritative person. Even Xiang Jiai and Shi Qinxian, who were usually arrogant, were in awe of Old Madame Luo. And Yun Jian. She dared to call Madame Luo an old hag in public? "You. What did you say? Who are you? How dare you threaten me?" Madame Luo was angered by Yun Jian. She swung her crutch on the spot and roared at Yun Jian. As soon as the words fell, Yun Jian stared at Madame Luo coldly. In front of everyone present, her words scared Madame Luo, including everyone around, out of their wits. The so-called noble families of Z country, the Luo family style is just like this. "I am the chairman of Rongyao Company. If I remember correctly, your Luo family begged to cooperate with my Rongyao Company last week." Chapter 1729. Rongyao Company? Chairman? You. After all, old Madame Luo was the mistress of the Luo family. After hearing Yun Jian's words, she quickly reacted and looked at Yun Jian with a questioning and constricted eyes. The faces of the people around who were watching Yun Jian and her subordinate Mo Sen's joke were also slightly stiff. The faces of Xiang Jiai, Shi Qinxian, and others almost instantly darkened to the extreme. The color on their faces was as if they had been smeared with feces, extremely outstanding. The chairman of the Rongyao Company? What a joke. Grandma, the Rongyao Company is a big multinational company. Even among the large international multinational companies, it is one of the best. But how old is she? How dare she say that she is the chairman of the Rongyao Company? Don't be fooled by her. The boy who just flattered old Madame Luo just now was Luo Xiling and Luo Mei's cousin, Luo Zhongzhong. Because the Luo family was in business, the descendants of the Luo family usually had contact with companies and had some understanding of many companies in the world today. In order to please Luo Xiling just now, Luo Zhongzhong helped Luo Xiling to say that Mo Sen sneaked into Luo Mei's room and wanted to do something to her. After that, he was caught by Luo Xiling and even knocked out Luo Xiling. Now, in order to please old Madame Luo, Luo Zhongzhong spoke again and found all kinds of reasons to deny Yun Jian's words. Luo Zhongzhong's words were indeed reasonable. What kind of company was the Rongyao Company's status? Could Yun Jian be the chairman of the Rongyao Company? She must be dreaming. It's the middle of the night. Do you think you're dreaming? Could it be that he was sleepwalking? Ah. There was a burst of mocking laughter around. Yun Jian's eyes deepened. She was about to do something else when Mo Sen stopped Yun Jian's action and stood up. "Young madam, this has nothing to do with you. You don't have to do anything." Mo Sen was an upright person. Yun Jian had no responsibility to speak up for him tonight. What's more, he was one of the 4 leaders of the Inhun organization. How could he not solve this kind of problem? Su Mei stood aside and opened her mouth but said nothing in the end. "Listen. Did you hear that? He called that girl young madam? Well, did they think that they were from a military family or gangsters? Young madam. Then I'm still the head of the household." Ah. Later on he would say that he was the chairman of Rongyao Company. He was a righteous and powerful person. Now you're blowing your own trumpet. Since you're so powerful, why don't you say you're invincible? As soon as Mo Sen's voice fell, a large group of people who were watching the show pointed at Mo Sen and Yun Jian and laughed. This time, everyone really took Yun Jian's words as a joke. Yun Jian naturally ignored the words of the surrounding people. Since Mo Sen had spoken, she would no longer interfere in this matter. Just as Madame Luo knocked on her crutch and was about to say something fiercely, a thunderous roar suddenly came from the gate. What's going on? At the entrance, a majestic figure was walking towards them. Behind this majestic figure, there were a few other submissive figures. The owner of this majestic figure was 175 meters tall. He was a very strong old man. This person was the head of the Luo family, Old Master Luo. The submissive figures behind him were Old Master Luo's sons, daughters, daughters-in-law, and son-in-law. Seeing Old Master Luo coming in and her parents standing behind him, Luo Mei, who was trembling and speechless because of Luo Xiling, shrank into Mo Sen's arms and was hugged tightly by Mo Sr. "Look. Old man, look at this. Look at what your granddaughter has done. She didn't sleep in the middle of the night and had an affair with a man. Our good grandson Xiling saw it and knocked him out." Madame Luo complained to Old Master Luo. Chapter 1730. A long time ago Luo Xiling would touch her whenever he had the chance. Although Luo Mei had never been touched by Luo Xiling, sometimes when Luo Xiling was close to Luo Mei, he would touch her little hand and rub her head. At first, Luo Mei didn't feel strange until she heard Luo Xiling's conversation with his cousin Luo Zhongzhong one night, saying that he must get her. From then on, Luo Mei would avoid Luo Xiling whenever she saw him. This was also the reason why Yun Jian found Luo Mei was abnormal when she saw Luo Xiling when she entered the Luo family. As for Luo Xiling's imitation of Mo Sen's voice, it was not difficult to explain. Luo Xiling must have learned this skill. It could be seen that Luo Mei's status in the Luo family was not high. So Yun Jian was sure that Luo Mei had never dared to tell anyone in the Luo family that Luo Xiling was plotting against her. After all, Luo Xiling's status in the Luo family was very high. Now Luo Mei dared to say it because she was afraid that people around would misunderstand Mo Senator, but just when Luo Mei said this, a middle-aged man standing behind Mr. Luo shouted at Luo Mei, what are you talking about? Shut up. This honest middle-aged man was Luo Mei's biological father, Luo Lin. The quiet middle-aged woman standing next to Luo Lin was Luo Lin's wife and Luo Mei's mother, Bai Wenxiang. Luo Mei's father, Luo Lin, was an honest man. To put it bluntly, in front of Mr. Luo, Luo Lin was as honest as a pug. As soon as he entered the door, he saw his daughter in the arms of a strange man. He didn't even ask what was going on. Because he was afraid of his old father, Mr. Luo, he shouted at Luo Mei directly. Luo Mei burst into tears when she was yelled at. Because she knew this situation and wanted to stay in the Luo family, Luo Mei never dared to say that Luo Xiling was plotting against her. Perhaps in the eyes of outsiders, Luo Mei was a member of the Luo family. She was very well off and could go out smoothly. But in the Luo family, Luo Mei's status was almost non-existent. This was the wealthy Luo family. Look at the situation now. How dare you hug her? What a scandal. Hurry up and come over. Grandpa Luo didn't like Luo Berry either, so when he saw that Mo's son was still holding Luo Berry, he immediately yelled at Luo Berry. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and didn't say anything. Luo Berry was so frightened by the roar that she trembled slightly. Her heart was bleeding. Everything else was nothing to Rockberry, but to be scolded like that in front of Masen, Rockberry had an indescribable feeling. However, Luo Mei still grabbed the coat that Mo Sen had put on her and walked towards old Master Luo. However, just as she was about to leave Mo Sen's embrace, Luo Mei felt her wrist being grabbed tightly. In the next second, she who was about to leave Mo Sen's embrace, was once again pulled into his embrace. She will no longer be under your control. Mo Sen reached out and gently wiped away the tears at the corner of Luo Mei's eyes. He said this without changing his expression. Who do you think you are? Luo Berry was a member of the Luo family when she was alive, and she will be a ghost of the Luo family even after she dies. What right do you have to control her? Grandfather Luo was so angry that his face was bulging. He could tell that this poor kid wanted Luo Berry, right? His Luo family's women's marriages were all arranged with other rich families. Who did this poor kid think he was? He wanted to take Luo Berry away? Bam. At this moment, the door was suddenly pushed open. A figure as handsome as Mo Sen immediately walked in. After this figure entered, he walked straight to Mo Sen in front of everyone present. The moment this figure entered, Grandfather Luo's face darkened. He was so frightened that he exclaimed at this figure, You are one of the 4 leaders of an Hun group, Adam? After that, Adam, who had attracted everyone's attention, walked quickly to Yun Jian. He first nodded at Yun Jian and greeted respectfully, Young madam. Then he walked to Mo Sen's side and ignored Grandfather Luo. He naturally placed his hand on Mo Sen's shoulder and raised his eyebrows at Mo Sen. Mo Sen, it's been so long since we last met. Even this kind of trash dares to bully you? After Adam finished speaking, everyone noticed the way Adam addressed Mo Senator. Seeing this, Grandfather Luo was so frightened that his face changed. He looked at Yun Jian and then at Mo Sen and exclaimed, Mo Sen? Are you one of the 4 leaders of an Hun group, Mo Sen? Chapter 1731. Among the 4 leaders of the Hun organization, Shuiying was the one who hung around the public the most. Next was Adam. Although Adam and Mo Sen often followed CE, Adam would hang around with Shuiying whenever he had free time. Therefore, there were still many international bigwigs who knew Adam well. Mo Sen was a relatively low-key person. He usually followed CE silently and acted in a low-key manner. Therefore, there were not many opportunities for him to be exposed in front of international bigwigs. As for Lin Wei, he was in charge of the Hun organization's assassin training camp. Therefore, he had the least opportunities to be exposed in front of international bigwigs. Grandfather Luo happened to see Adam once before. At that time, Adam was still standing with Shuang. In front of the real international bigwigs, Grandfather Luo didn't even dare to fart. Therefore, when he saw Adam, he didn't dare to go forward. At this moment, he suddenly saw Adam and heard how Adam addressed Mo Senator Old Master Luo was dumbfounded. Especially when Adam respectfully addressed Yun Jian as Young Madam. Young Madam? Xiang Jiai Shi Qinxian Luo Zhongzhong and Old Madam Luo who were standing around were all stunned at this moment. They were looking at Yun Jian with disbelief and fear. Grandfather Luo just looked at Adam and Mo Sen and exclaimed. Everyone present felt that Adam and Mo Sen's identity was not ordinary. At this moment, everyone who was shocked by Adam and Mo Sen's identity suddenly came back to their senses. Just now, Mo Sen also called Yun Jian as Young Madam, but the people around didn't take it seriously. Instead they mocked and ridiculed. Grandma. At this moment Adam, who was frightened by Grandfather Luo, she fainted directly, also called Yun Jian, and all the grandchildren around her rushed over. And Adam and Mo Sen were the four leaders of the Han organization. Delusional about everyone present was dumbfounded and seducing the rich second generation so dark that they couldn't be described with words. Yun Jian was the young mistress of the Han organization. This damn old man, don't look at me with such a shocked expression. Yun Jian said that their family fortune was not enough for her to buy 3 fighter jets. One of the 4 leaders of the Han organization is the wild man you were talking about. The surroundings were in a mess. Yun Jian was also looking at Yun Jian in a daze when Yun Jian tilted her head, but she didn't expect Grandfather Luo to point the spearhead at her. Where's Lan Su? She added a few words. She went to Qing Yu's house now. The person who wanted to catch up with Qing as a wild man was located Mo Sen's address. At this moment, why I came hearing Yun Jian's words, he didn't expect to see such a hot covered her heart and was so scared that she almost had a myocardial was actually hugging a woman in his arms. Old Master Luo had told Old Madam Luo a long time ago that there were only 2 underworld forces in the world that should younger brother. He had never one of them was the Han organization, usually, and the other was the kosher mercenaries. His biological brother, and just now, she actually scolded one of the 4 leaders of an Han organization. What was going on today, Mo Sen, was the end of the world second only to the mysterious leader of an Han organization. Chapter 1732. If Mo Sen heard Adam's words, he would not be walking out of this door today. Yun Jian smirked. Luo Berry, who was in Mo Sen's arms, was dumbfounded. He was actually Mo Sen, one of the 4 leaders of an Han group? The younger generation of the Luo family would usually be taught some knowledge of the business world. Luo Berry had heard a lot about large organizations like an Han group and kosher mercenaries. However, Luo Berry thought that she would never have any dealings with an Han group or kosher mercenaries in her life, so she had never purposely explained it. Knowing that Mo Sen was one of the 4 leaders of an Han group, Luo Berry instantly felt that she was not worthy of him. Hence, Luo Berry, who was nestled in Mo Sen's arms, tried to break free. However, Luo Berry's wrist was gripped tightly by Mo Sen and she could not break free. In the end, it was Luo Berry's mother, Bai Wenxiang, who came over to pull Luo Berry away that the drama stopped. It was then that Mo Sen realized that he had been holding the innocent girl's hand for quite some time. What, are you tempted? Snatch her home if you are. Adam, who stood beside Mo Sen, extended his right arm to nudge him as he said with a grin. Don't spout nonsense, Adam. Mo Sen's gaze dimmed as he walked away. These were all tricks of the rich and powerful families. Mo Sen was not a man of words. When they saw that Mo Sen wanted to help Mo Sen, they couldn't wait to chase him away. Adam guiding Once they knew that Mo Sen was the leader of Mo Sen was nixed. They ordered or threatened Old Madam Luo to seduce Mo Sen had fainted, but the Luo family was so busy that they called a family doctor to get married to someone you don't like. They were only relieved after making sure that they were soldier. She was an upright person. Slept soundly that night. She had never thought that the rich and powerful families would be so complicated. Yun Jian even invited Luo Berry to Longmen City before she left. Then she looked at Yun Jian and she went with Yun Jian after Old Master Luo called her to the study and lectured her. What they want. Yun Jian want to use his power to gain benefits for themselves. Coming out of the study with a sullen face. I won't let this happen. Although she didn't ask to get engaged to someone I don't like, I won't harm him. She could imagine what with a determined expression. Coincidentally, Yun Jian, she couldn't let the Luo family were taking a walk in the flower bed. If that was the case, she would rather marry someone she didn't like. Yun Jian raised her eyebrows. What did that old man say to you just now? When she heard Luo Meibei's words, she saw a slender figure walking over from behind Luo Meibei. Under Su Mei's questioning, Yun Jian purposely didn't say anything. Finally stuttered and told her what Old Master Luo had told her just in front of Luo Meibei. That old man was actually Luo Meibei's wrist. He actually asked you to seduce Mo Sen. Chapter 1733. If you can't seduce him, Adam and Mo Sen were blood-related brothers, so they were somewhat similar. Perhaps Mo Sen was usually powerful families also, while Adam was someone with a particularly bad temper. Didn't they look down on him from the start? But when they were angry, if you asked me, little strawberry, you might as well come with me. Mo-sen grabbed Luo Mei's wrist and spoke to her very seriously. Yunjian's eyes also scared Luo Mei so much that her expression changed. "Let go of me. You're hurting me." Luo Mei was frightened by Mo-sen's behavior. Mo-sen's dark face turned slightly. He lowered his eyes and didn't let go of Luo Mei's hand, but his grip was much lighter. "Sorry," Mo-sen apologized in a gentlemanly manner. Yunjian blinked at Su Mei, and before Su Mei could react, she grabbed Su Mei's collar and dragged her out. Su Mei only reacted after leaving the scene for a while. Was Yunjian trying to create an opportunity for Mo-sen and Luo Mei? Wow, so cool. Su Mei's reflexes were rather slow. It was only when she was dragged out by Yunjian that she realized what had happened. Su Mei was already in her 20s, but she still had the heart of a young girl. Yunjian smiled slightly. Just as she grinned, a large group of boys and girls rushed out from the surroundings. Looking closely, wasn't the leader Xiang Jia? Yunjian only recognized a few of the surrounding boys and girls because they were following behind Xiang Jia. Just as Yunjian blinked, Xiang Jia pointed at Yunjian and said arrogantly, "Yunjian, you made me lose face in front of them. Don't think that you're the young madam of the Inhun organization. I'll be afraid of you. I brought everyone here today to teach you a lesson." Xiang Jia obviously didn't know what kind of existence the Inhun organization was, which was why she said such words. Yunjian's red lips curved into a smile when she heard that. Xiang Jia was originally walking with Shi Qinshuan's group, but she didn't see Shi Qinshan and the rest now. It wasn't hard to guess that Xiang Jia must have been mocked by Shi Qinshan and the rest 3 days ago when she mocked Yunjian. A rich young lady like Xiang Jia wanted to save some face. Plus, she didn't know what kind of organization the Inhun organization was, so she brought a group of people here to cause trouble. Xiang Jia didn't know Yunjian's capabilities, so she shouted, "All of you attack." Xiang Jia's words, Yunjian suddenly narrowed her eyes. In the next second, before Xiang Jia and the rest of them could do anything, they fainted on the spot. Yun's eyes flashed sharp eyes, and then she fainted too. So was really fainted. A while later, a large group of men in black came over and took Yunjian and the others away without a sound. "These girls are the daughters of wealthy merchants. Look at them, their skin is so soft and tender. Load them all up and take them away." The voice was crystal clear. Yunjian didn't move. She didn't faint, but there was a slight change in her expression. She fainted just now because she wanted to see who the people who drugged them were. However, Yunjian was sure now. What a joke. She really bumped into them. She had experienced this scene when she was 5 years old in her past life. She didn't expect assassin organizations to have such a huge appetite now. They even wanted to kidnap teenage girls? That was right. The men in black who drugged Yunjian and the rest were from a small assassin organization. Most assassin organizations would kidnap girls around 5 or 6 years old and train them to become assassins from a young age. However, Yunjian couldn't be mistaken. These men in black captured them to train them to become assassins. That was why Yunjian thought they had such a huge appetite. They used to kidnap little girls, but now they wanted to kidnap teenage girls? Was there no one else in the world? Unfortunately, this group of people captured her. What a joke. Slaying God, the top international secret agent ranking, was captured. She was even sent to an assassin training camp? Chapter 1734. But from the looks of it, there were quite a lot of people who had been caught. Yunjian was able to determine that they were currently being locked up in a large truck. There were quite a few teenage girls lying around her. There were also boys, but not many of them. The large truck was sealed off from all sides, leaving only a few air vents, so that the many unconscious boys and girls wouldn't suffocate to death. The voices of conversation just now were clearly coming from outside the large truck. The large truck was sealed off from all sides, so the voices were coming from outside the truck, but she could still hear them clearly. After a while, the voices outside the truck paused for a few seconds, and then another voice came out, "Hurry up! Go! If we don't leave now, we'll be discovered. Is the back door locked? This batch of goods is very important. They will be working for our organization in the future." People were described as goods in their mouths. After a while, the large truck started moving. No one was awake around her. Yunjian silently stood up and walked to a plastic wall where she could vaguely see the outside. She squinted her eyes and used the dim light to look outside. The large truck was traveling on an extremely bumpy road that was rarely traveled. There was mud all around the road and large pieces of rocks were piled up together. It was quite bumpy. Yunjian sat in the large truck and could feel the bumpiness around her. She was surrounded by people who had fainted. She stood in place and couldn't move around, but her eyes flashed with a sharp luster. Of course she could escape. Even if she released the innocent boys and girls who were caught with her strength, it would be easy for her to do so. But Yun Jian wouldn't do that because this assassin organization was too strange. Normally, assassin organizations train professional assassins by kidnapping very young children for training. And once they entered the assassin organization, the chances of survival were less than 0.1%. So if there were children in the future, they must be careful of them. Once he lost it, he would be left with no one to respond to his cries for help. Yun Jian was puzzled by this point. Why would this assassin organization want to capture a teenage girl in her prime? Could it be that they wanted to brainwash them and train them into puppets? Therefore she had to make this trip. Next we have important news. In the Donglin city of the northern province, on the same day and at the same time, a total of 10 cases of boys and girls went missing. In the driver's seat of the big truck, the driver was driving. A simple and honest male voice came from the car radio. After hearing the important news, the driver guiltily turned off the radio. Yun Jian could hear the man sitting in the passenger seat next to the driver cursing in a low voice after turning off the radio. F***ck, hurry up and drive. Everything will be fine once we leave the territory. After a moment of silence, the driver said in a clumsy voice, the drug should have worn off. What if they wake up? So what if he's awake? Don't bother about them. The back is locked. Even if they wake up, they can do whatever they want. The soundproofing of this truck is excellent. After that, the driver and the man in the front seat of the truck didn't say anything else. If it wasn't for Yun Jian's amazing hearing, she definitely wouldn't have heard the mutterings of the driver and the man sitting in the front seat of the truck. After about 15 minutes, the people around them woke up. Where is this? After looking around, the first girl to wake up screamed in fright. This scream woke the people around her up from their dizziness. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and pretended to wake up with the others. Where are we? Were we all kidnapped? Sob, will we die? I want my mother, I want to go home. The light in the big truck wasn't enough. They could only vaguely feel the other party's presence. When the people reacted, a cry was extremely prominent. Chapter 1735. Xiang Jia was, after all, the daughter of a wealthy family. Just like Luo Mei, her family was extremely wealthy. She had grown up with gold in her mouth. Usually, she was so delicate that she did not even know how to do the housework herself. Although Luo Mei was also the daughter of a rich family, she wasn't favored in the Luo family. Hence, she lived a submissive life since she was young. She was afraid that she would say something wrong and be chased out of the family. Xiang Jia was a typical example of a rich young lady. Hence, when she woke up and looked around, she was so frightened that she started crying and screaming when she saw the dark scene. Open the door. Open the door. What is this place? A couple of boys had already regained their senses. They went to the back seat of the truck to break the door. However, the door was so tight that they couldn't break it open at all. Yun Jian sat in the corner and closed her eyes to rest. A large group of girls around her were sobbing non-stop. Not only Xiang Jia but the group of people she brought with her were also caught. The truck was huge and there were many boys and girls in it that Yun Jian didn't know. Yun Jian's night vision was very good. She could clearly see the faces of every boy and girl in the dark space of the truck. Not many boys were crying, but most of the people who were caught were girls. After confirming that it was a kidnapping, they were all frightened and started crying non-stop. Su Mei was the last to wake up. When she woke up, she was only shocked but didn't say anything. Su Mei was only in her 20s. The people who caught them probably didn't expect that Su Mei was a special forces soldier. At this moment, Yun Jian understood Su Mei's silence very well. She was conserving her energy. Soon they would be involved in a fierce battle. Boo-hoo. I want to go home. I don't want to be here. Mommy. I miss Mommy. I want to go home. It's so scary here. It's so dark. Boo. Half an hour later, the surrounding girls' throats were hoarse from crying. Xiang Jia was still screaming. Yun Jian closed her eyes and kept quiet for a long time. Xiang Jia was still screaming and crying 45 minutes after the group of people woke up. Shut up if you don't want to be the first to die. Yun Jian's sudden shout made Xiang Jia, who was still in a state of fear and panic, immediately shut her mouth. It finally quieted down. Yun Jian closed her eyes again. But just as she closed her eyes, Xiang Jia suddenly heard Yun Jian's voice. She grasped Yun Jian's position and pounced on Yun Jian. It's you? Yun Jian, it's you? It's all your fault. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. Go to hell. Die. Xiang Jia screamed madly. She couldn't see where Yun Jian was, but she rushed forward and stepped on several innocent people. Then she pounced on Yun Jian. However, just as Xiang Jia was about to pounce on Yun Jian, who could sense the source of the sound in the dark, knocked Xiang Jia out with a backhand chop. There was some light coming in from the surroundings. The surrounding boys and girls were shocked when they saw Yun Jian's dexterity. "It's noisy." Yun Jian frowned. She directly put the unconscious Xiang Jia aside and closed her eyes again to recuperate. The surrounding boys and girls all sucked in a breath of air, and it was obvious that they were all silent. After a while, the boy who failed to break down the door with his men just now walked near Yun Jian. With the help of the light coming in from the outside, the boy tried to calm himself down. He looked at Yun Jian, who had closed her eyes, and asked softly, "Hello, Yun Jian. My name is Ma Yichen. I see that you're not flustered at all. Well, I want to ask you if you know our current situation." After the boy who called himself Ma Yichen and his friends fainted, they woke up in this truck inexplicably. Of course he was also afraid, but as a man he just didn't want to show his fear. "Brother Yichen, what's the use of asking her? She's not a god. How can she know? I think she can't even protect herself. She's still pretending to be noble and not afraid at all." "Brother Yichen, I won't let you be a good person today. So what if that group of people kidnapped us?" "Brother Yichen, you know Taekwondo, Wushu and Judo. Are you afraid of them?" A rather confident female voice came from the surroundings. There was a hint of flaunting in her words. Yun Jian opened her eyes. Don't talk nonsense." Ma Yichen quickly stopped the girl. The girl's name was Hu Yiru. When she heard this, Hu Yiru was still unconvinced. She was about to continue speaking when Yun Jian's cold words made everyone panic. Chapter 1736. Welcome to the world of killers. Yun Jian's words aroused fear in the hearts of the people present. "What do you mean by the world of killers? What are you talking about?" After Yun Jian's words fell, there were immediately frightened exclamations from the surroundings. What was she talking about? What world of killers? They were kidnapped now, not playing a game. For some reason, Ma Yichen and the two boys standing next to him felt a surge of hot blood in their hearts when they heard Yun Jian's words, even though they did not know what Yun Jian meant. What she said just now made their hearts boil. "It seems that you know where we are? Then, can you please tell us what's the situation we're in now? Did someone kidnap us or?" After a moment of excitement, Ma Yichen looked at Yun Jian and pleaded with Yun Jian to tell him. He was suddenly drugged, and when he woke up he was loaded onto an airtight big truck, and was transported to an unknown place without any help, no matter how much he screamed. Not to mention those girls who cried at the beginning. Even Ma Yichen himself was flustered. However, as a boy he had to be strong. Could he be like the girls present, clenching his fists and wiping his tears with the corners of his eyes? This was simply an impractical thing. Ma Yichen's anxious question did not get a reply from Yun Jian. At this moment Yun Jian had closed her eyes. Finally it was quiet for a while. After a while Hu Yiru, the girl who looked down on Yun Jian just now, began to grumble again. "Brother Yichen, look at her behavior. She clearly doesn't know anything and is still pretending. Wasn't the girl who was knocked unconscious by her just now scared? It's normal for girls to cry when they are scared. What about her? She actually said, 'Shut up if you don't want to be the first to die,' as if she is very powerful. Who does she think she is? So powerful?" After Hu Yiru said this, the noisy space suddenly fell silent. Hu Yiru swallowed her saliva. Noticing the sudden silence around her, she turned to Yun Jian and added, "My brother Yichen is so powerful, but he's not as arrogant as you. Shut up all of you. We don't even know where we're going later. We've been arguing for almost an hour, and we don't even have the strength to speak. Other than being slaughtered, what else do you want? The moment Hu Yiru finished speaking, Su Mei, who had been silent all this while, could not help but speak up. Yun Jian's reply was brief because she didn't want to use all her energy to talk. Su Mei couldn't help but open her mouth. These people were too noisy. After Su Mei finished speaking, Hu Yiru paused. She had nothing to say. Just now, Yun Jian asked you to shut up because she wanted you to conserve your energy. Otherwise, you won't even have the strength to fight back. We don't have anything to eat or drink right now. What's the use of crying and talking all the time? Other than exhausting your energy, do you think you can go back if you cry and talk? If you don't want to die, then shut up quickly. We don't know what will happen later. No one will be able to save you here. Alright, I won't say any more. Help yourselves. Su Mei heard the crowd's criticism of Yun Jian. In the end, she couldn't help but stand up for Yun Jian. After hearing her words, the attitude of those who didn't have a good impression of Yun Jian instantly changed. Perhaps it was because Su Mei was older and gave people the impression that she was rather mature, so the crowd really listened to her and stopped talking. Silence returned to the car in an instant. Yun Jian raised her eyebrows and closed her eyes. Chapter 1737. The big truck drove for at least 10 hours before it finally left Country Z. Then it kept driving, heading to a place unknown to the girls. Yun Jian could feel the trajectory of the car. She remained silent, but looked at the scene outside through the small gap in the plastic wall. Will we be sold? After a long time, a young girl hiding in the corner spoke up. After being silent for so long, they were hungry and thirsty. In addition, the girls had cried until they had no strength left. At this time, they were all dizzy and did not even have the strength to raise their hands. Yun Jian and Su Mei had only said a few words, so they were full of energy now. She was going to kill Yun Jian to some old bachelor in the countryside as wives or something like that, just like in the movies. Wasn't she just the young madam of the I'd rather die than be sold? What's so great about that? As soon as the girl finished speaking, bang, the other girls were just so scared that their faces turned pale. The back door of the big truck was filled with many images. Perhaps it was because they had not seen the light for a long time. Twitching. The moment the back door of the big truck was opened, there were many movies where rural women or children were abducted and sold. It was already 10 minutes into the evening. The main purpose was to remind everyone to be on guard. Since they were caught in the morning, the truck had been on the road for 10 hours, but there were also bad people. About to set. As mothers, they had to keep an eye on their children out of the country. As children, they should not run around casually or leave their mother's line of sight. When everyone saw a row of people holding all kinds of crisis, as long as someone said other weapons, scary, their faces would immediately fill in an even scarier image. Guns. In the end, everyone was scared together. The girls began to scream. This was not uncommon. Standing in front of them was a surrounding men dressed like foreigners. Just imagining an old bachelor in the countryside who had not bathed for a few years pouncing on her, He lifted the machine gun and was about to shoot at them. I don't want to. But he was stopped by the man beside him. Brother Ichin, the man beside him was dressed very formally. The more but his looks were average. The more scared she became. After the man stopped the machine gun, in the end, he turned to look at the girls. That she threw herself on Mai. He spoke to them in Chinese. Mai Chen reached out and placed his hand on Hu Yiru's back to comfort her. Chapter 1738. After a while, it quieted down again. Yun Jian's eyebrows, about 10 hours of driving, the big truck finally slightly again. The car did not stop. Organization. Although the people present were starving, this organization was similar to an Han organization's title. However, they did not feel extreme fear. Yun Jian could not help but raise her eyebrows even more. This meant that the future that everyone feared would happen organization to attract assassins from all walks of life to join Soul Devourer. I will never come out alone. Or was he delusional to think that he could stand shoulder to shoulder with an Han organization? A young girl's mosquito-like cry for help came from the corner. Too much about it, but there was nothing he could do. People had already stood on the ground from the big truck. Xiang Jai had already woken up. Soul Devourer organization. After waking up, Xiang Jai did not cause any trouble for Yun Jian. I want to go home. Xiang Jai's friend repeated that the foreign man's words to Chinese. A girl shook her head and screamed. Xiang Jai felt she was so scared that her face turned green. Our Soul Devourer organization is naturally an assassin organization, and this place is obviously the assassin training base of our organization. The foreign man who was standing at the front explained to the crowd in fluent Chinese. After that, the foreign man bowed to the crowd and continued speaking in a very gentlemanly manner. And you are very honored to be trained as assassins of our Soul Devourer organization. My name is Jean. You can call me Jean. Coach. Okay, I like this title very much. As soon as Jean finished speaking, the girl who had been hiding in the corner saw that Jean was elegant and gentlemanly. She immediately begged for mercy. My mother is still waiting for me at home. Please let me go. You can catch them. You can do whatever you want with them. Just let me go, okay? I'll go back by myself. I promise I won't tell anyone about what happened here. The girl selfishly pointed at Yun Jian and the rest and ran back after she finished speaking. Everyone was shocked. Who would have thought that the girl, who was still quite gentlemanly just now, would raise the pistol in her hand and shoot the girl who was trying to escape without giving the crowd any time to react? Blood splattered everywhere. Jean did not realize that he had just killed someone. He was still looking at the crowd with a smile on his face, looking as gentlemanly as ever. Do you like this gift? That girl was dead. She was dead. Only then did everyone realize where they were. Panic and fear spread through their bodies. Whether it was Xiang Jai or Hu Yiru who had previously disliked Yun Jian, they were so frightened that their faces changed. Even Su Mei, a member of the Special Forces, had a dark expression on her face. At this moment, Yun Jian's words suddenly flashed across everyone's mind. Welcome to the world of assassins. The world of assassins. She was right. This was really the world of assassins. After killing the girl who was trying to escape, there was no change in his expression at all. It was as if he had just stepped on an ant. It made people's hair stand on end. Alright baby, don't struggle anymore. Be obedient and you'll be rewarded in the future. He threw the gun in his hand to his subordinate, then took out a white handkerchief from his trouser pocket and gently wiped his palm and the back of his hand. None of the people present would be able to imagine the ghastly and fearful feeling in this situation unless they personally experienced it. Xiang Jai was so scared that she didn't dare to make a sound, but she covered her mouth with all her might. She was so scared that her whole body was trembling, and she couldn't even stand straight. Mai Chen was so scared that his face turned pale. At this time he was really scared. As for Hu Yiru, who was very proud of her brother Ichen's taekwondo, judo, and sanda skills, her expression could no longer be described as horrified. They were all holding guns in their hands. They were guns. How could she deal with her so-called brother Ichen? Just when everyone present was so frightened that they were trembling all over and squatting on the ground one by one, they were so scared that they couldn't stand straight, a girl's voice suddenly sounded arrogantly. Unknowingly, Yun Jian was already standing in front of Jean. She looked indifferent and looked at Jean and his men without any fear. She spoke in a commanding tone. Chapter 1739. When the girl realized what kind of place this was, she was so scared that she turned around and ran away. However, she was shot dead by Xin, and her blood splattered on the spot. This scene made everyone present turn pale with fright. The first impression Xin gave was that of a gentleman, and it was the same now. However, when the girl tried to escape, he smiled and killed her with one shot as if he was stepping on an ant. What did the girl do wrong? She did nothing wrong. She was just scared and wanted to leave. What about this group of people? They didn't even give her a chance to explain and killed her directly. Xiang Jai, Mai Chen, Hu Yiru, and all the young boys and girls present were so scared that they trembled uncontrollably. This was not a place for humans at all. People could die in this place. This was hell. Hell. However, just when everyone was scared, terrified, and trembling to the extreme, a loud female voice suddenly sounded. Yun Jian's voice spread to every corner of the place. Her brash, arrogant, and fearless voice made everyone present tremble. When they reacted, whether it was Xiang Jai, Mai Chen, Hu Yiru, or the others, they were all dumbfounded. Was Yun Jian crazy? She actually talked to Xin, who killed a girl without batting an eyelid just now. Did she want to die? I'll give you 1 minute to get the leader of your spirit devourer to come out and see me. How could she say such words? Just now, the girl was killed just because she wanted to escape. By saying this, Yun Jian wanted to kill everyone present. Xiang Jai's expression changed at the speed of light. Xiang Jai originally had a problem with Yun Jian. When Yun Jian said this, Xiang Jai didn't even wait for Xin to react and pointed at Yun Jian first. She's crazy. This has nothing to do with us. If you want to kill someone, kill her. Kill her. As Xiang Jai spoke, she shrank into the crowd. Come back quickly. Hearing Yun Jian's words, Mai Chen lowered his voice and kindly called out to Yun Jian, asking her to come back quickly. When Hu Yiru, who was standing next to Mai Chen, heard his words, she quickly tugged at the corner of his clothes and whispered to him. Brother Chen, you're crazy. Whether she lives or dies is none of our business. Let her die. Just let her die. Just don't implicate us. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and looked coldly at Xin, who was standing in front of her. The coldness of the god of slaughter emanating from her eyes made Xin feel terrified for no reason. He couldn't help looking at Yun Jian again. His intuition told him that this young lady was not to be trifled with. They were definitely not in cahoots with this group of abducted boys and girls. Xin suddenly grinned at Yun Jian. Then, under the creepy gaze of a large group of people in front of him, he pointed at one of his men and said to Yun Jian, Young lady, you're very brave. This is my right-hand man, 025. If you kill 025, then you will take his place. Survive. As for them. Xin glanced sideways at Xiang Jai, Mai Chen, Hu Yiru, Su Mei and the others and continued, as long as you kill 025 you can survive. Kill all of them. After that, a large group of men behind Xin pointed their machine guns at Xiang Jai, Mai Chen, Hu Yiru, Su Mei and the others. 025 was Xin's right-hand man. In the killer training camp, except for those with high status, everyone was called by a number once they entered. If Yun Jian, Xiang Jai, and the others were to mingle in the killer training camp, only one could survive in the end. This was an unchanging law since ancient times. Therefore, as soon as Xin spoke, Xiang Jai and the others were so scared that they retreated to the corner and dared not move. Yun Jian. How dare you? Xiang Jai was afraid that Yun Jian would do it. However, just as Xiang Jai said this, Yun Jian continued to speak. She looked at Xin and pointed at 025. You want me to kill him? Yes, kill him and his position will be yours. Xin continued to induce Yun Jian. Yun Jian was definitely a good seedling. Xin wanted to take Yun Jian for his own use. Obviously, Xin thought that Yun Jian was braver than ordinary people because of what she said before. In the killer world, if you were strong, you could take the other person's position if you killed him. Xiang Jai, Mai Chen, and the others gradually began to realize what the killer world was. It was an inhumane place. Just as Xiang Jai and Mai Chen were afraid that Yun Jian would really do as Xin said, Yun Jian's words suddenly sounded and reached everyone's ears. I don't care about his position. It's better to kill you than him. I'll kill you first, take your position, and then kill the head of your Soul Eater organization. After Yun Jian finished speaking, her figure flashed and she walked quickly to where Xin was. Chapter 1740. What Yun Jian had said was enough to shock everyone present, and it was enough for Xan to kill her. Not only did Xan not kill her, but what puzzled Xiang Jiai, Hu Yiru, and the others was that Xan actually gave Yun Jian a chance. He let her kill his right-hand man 025, so that the position of 025 would be given to Yun Jian. This was far beyond what everyone present could bear. The girl just wanted to escape, but she was mercilessly shot dead by Xan. Now Yun Jian was directly pointing at Xan's nose and asking the leader of the Soul Devourer to come out. And Xan actually gave Yun Jian a chance. But what surprised everyone present was that Yun Jian did not want such a great opportunity. What she wanted was Xan's position. No. She wanted to destroy the Soul Devourer. The Soul Devourer. This was an assassin organization. And Yun Jian wanted to destroy an assassin organization. Did she know what she was doing? Just as everyone sucked in a sharp breath, Yun Jian, who was right in front of them, was already sprinting toward Xan Jin. Xan did not expect Yun Jian to want to kill him. His face suddenly changed and he wanted to dodge Yun Jian's fatal blow in an instant. So fast. This young girl. Her movements are so fast. Is she originally a professional assassin? Her speed is so fast that I can't even see it with my naked eyes. A boy exclaimed in disbelief. He was dumbfounded and his mouth was wide open, unable to close for a long time. Oh my God. Just as the boy's mouth was wide open, and he was so shocked that words could not describe it, a voice louder than the boy's came out. Right after that, everyone turned to look at Yun Jian. Perhaps it was because the boy who spoke last spoke louder than the rest. Yun Jian flashed by like a phantom, and at this time, Xan's pupils shrank. Xan was not for show. The moment Yun Jian flew towards him, he instantly dodged Yun Jian's powerful blow. Just as Xan was about to dodge Yun Jian's powerful blow, something happened that made everyone present go crazy. They saw that Yun Jian's trajectory, which was still attacking Xan, suddenly reversed. She seemed to be able to predict the future and knew how Xan would avoid her technique. In the next moment, she opened the 5 fingers of her left hand, and a bright butterfly knife immediately appeared in her hand. She stabbed the knife into the center of Xan's heart. Xan had already blocked Yun Jian's first move, but unexpectedly Yun Jian saw through his move. The butterfly knife left a lightning-like afterimage in front of everyone present, and stabbed directly into Xan's heart. The knife stabbed into the center of Xan's heart. The knife fell and the knife was pulled out. After Yun Jian stabbed the butterfly knife into Xan's heart, she directly pulled it out of Xan's heart in the next second. Xan's eyes widened. He even had no time to react before he died on the spot. She killed someone. She killed someone. Xiang Jiai's initial disdain toward Yun Jian was replaced by shock at the speed of light when she saw the bloody butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand. Xiang Jiai was so scared that her lips turned pale. She seems to belong to the god of killing who lives in such a world. At this time, Ma Yichen looked at Yun Jian blankly and said this involuntarily. As soon as he said this, the group of men who had followed Xan with machine guns turned their heads and left one after another. Seeing that their kidnappers had left, Ma Yichen and the rest were terrified of Yun Jian's actions, but they were elated that they could finally leave this godforsaken place. However, just when they relaxed their tense emotions, Yun Jian shook the butterfly knife in her hand, which had just been wiped with paper, and sneered at the corner. Chapter 1741. As soon as Yun Jian finished her words, Xiang Jiai, Mai Chen, Hu Yiru and Su Mei were obviously stunned. Yun Jian's words meant, who was hiding in the dark? Who was hiding in the dark? Su Mei knew Yun Jian's strength, so she did not say anything just now. She did not want to implicate Yun Jian. Now that Jin's men had all run away, Su Mei finally spoke up. Yun Jian did not reply to Su Mei. She blinked her eyes up and down, and her long and narrow eyelashes fluttered. It was a beautiful sight. Didn't you just kill a person? What's so smug about it? Hu Yiru was very dissatisfied with Ma Yichen's evaluation of Yun Jian. Even though she had seen such a terrifying side of Yun Jian, she still scolded Yun Jian coldly. However, Hu Yiru spoke to Yun Jian with the mentality that Yun Jian would never do anything to her. Yun Jian did kill Zhen, but did she dare to kill her? Did she dare? However, Hu Yiru only dared to mutter these words in her heart and did not dare to say them out loud. Hu Yiru, stop fooling around. As soon as Hu Yiru finished speaking, Ma Yichen suddenly stopped her with her full name and did not let her continue talking nonsense. Brother Yichen, who are you helping? That's how it is. Hu Yiru thought that Yun Jian was pretending to be a ghost. There was clearly no one hiding in the dark, but Yun Jian still had to pretend that there was someone hiding in the dark. However, just as Hu Yiru said this, a strange male voice suddenly came from the dark. There was a trace of indescribable gloominess in the voice. This little girl is so capable. She actually killed the most powerful assassin of our spirit devourer's leader, Zhen. After this strange voice came out, a man wearing a black and gray robe walked out from the dark. He had a high nose bridge and a face that looked like a woman's, but the voice that came out of his mouth was that of a foreign man. Although this foreign man looked a little like a woman, as long as one was not blind, one could still tell his gender at a glance. The foreign man spoke extremely fluent Chinese. Coupled with his strange tone of voice, everyone present had a moment of panic. There was really someone hiding in the dark. Who was this foreign man who suddenly appeared? Your purpose. This foreign man had been standing in the dark and watching the situation here for a long time. Yun Jian had sensed his presence long ago, but she did not say it before. Now that they were in front of everyone, Yun Jian did not beat around the bush with the foreign man. She looked at him and said it nonchalantly. The foreign man was slightly stunned. When he came to his senses, he pulled his lips and broke into an imperceptible smile. The foreign man immediately restrained his strange voice and returned to his normal tone. He looked at Yun Jian and said with a smile, I like to talk to smart little girls. The foreign man stopped laughing and looked at Yun Jian sideways. He pursed his lips and said softly, My name is Neil. I'm a senior assassin of the Spirit Devourer. When I saw you kill Zhen, your movements were clean and neat. You're even more powerful than our leader of the Spirit Devourer. So I ask you to cooperate with me. We'll attack from both sides and kill the leader of the Spirit Devourer. As long as you agree, I'll send everyone here home safely. What do you think? When Neil spoke, his ambition was exposed. He was just a small senior assassin of the Spirit Devourer. His strength was clearly more powerful than Zhen. Why did the leader of the Spirit Devourer not pay attention to him? The leader of the Spirit Devourer was just a woman. Her strength was not much stronger than Zhen. He and Neil were not convinced. So, he wanted to work with Yun Jian to kill the leader of the Spirit Devourer. So, what about the benefits you're going to give me? Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and replied indifferently. Neil originally thought that Yun Jian, this little girl, would thank God for sending everyone home safely. However, he did not expect Yun Jian to be unsatisfied. His face darkened and he asked, Then what do you want? I want half of the Spirit Devourer's forces to belong to me. Yun Jian's words made Neil's pupils shrink slightly. Chapter 1742. When the students standing around heard Yunjian's words, they were all stunned. Yunjian actually wanted the Soul Devourer's power. What did she want the Soul Devourer's power for? Junior was also completely stunned. Junior was stunned because Yunjian's appetite was too big. Usually, when a girl of Yunjian's age was captured and sent here, she would be thankful as long as she could be sent back safely. However, Yunjian actually wanted half of the Soul Devourer's power. In fact, Junior did not know that Yunjian usually did not want half of the organization's power, but the entire organization. Usually, when Yunjian took a liking to someone, she would poach the person and the organization under her name. Now, she wanted half of the Soul Devourer's power for two reasons. First, she did not like Junior. Junior was too murderous. If she took him under her wing, there was a 99.9% chance that he would betray her. Second, the Soul Devourer had unspeakable secrets. These secrets would lead to a massacre. If she, Yunjian, wanted half of the organization's power, if there was a crisis in the future, the first one to suffer would not be her, but Junior. Yunjian was not the kind of person who would take people under her wing just because they had strength. It also depended on the other party's character and whether they would betray her. Of course, you can also reject me and continue to be a high-level assassin, Yunjian said. When Junior heard Yunjian's words, his dark eyes suddenly flashed, as if there was a strange and sinister luster. Okay. As long as you help me get the Soul Devourer, I'll give you half of the organization's power. Junior agreed immediately. Giving it to you doesn't mean that you can't get it back. You're just a young girl, yet you want to get half of the Soul Devourer's power. You must be dreaming. Junior originally planned to send Yunjian and her group away casually. Now he wanted to kill Yunjian and her group. Deal. Yunjian clearly saw the sinister flash in Junior's eyes. She pretended that she did not see anything and smiled faintly. In order to prevent Yunjian from not cooperating, Neil asked Su Mei, Xiangjia, Mai Chen and everyone else present to follow him to the residence of the leader of the Spirit Devourer. What Junior didn't know was that using Xiangjia to threaten Yunjian was completely useless. In the hall of the residence of the Soul Devourer's leader. Shinji, get out here. Give up your identity as the leader of the Soul Devourer and I'll leave you with an intact corpse. Ah. As soon as he entered the residence of the leader of the Soul Devourer, he began to make a big fuss. Yunjian's eyelids twitched when she heard Neil address the leader of the Soul Devourer as such. Just as Neil finished speaking, a woman in her 20s with a voluptuous figure and an enchanting charm walked in from the side. The moment Yunjian saw the girl, her lips curved into a smile. To think that he would run into an acquaintance here. That's right, Shinji was her old acquaintance. Among the thousands of people who had been trained as assassins in the same batch as Yunjian, only 3 of them had left in Hun Group alive. Yunjian was the only one among the 3 who had completely escaped in Hun Group's control. As for the other 2, one of them was Mad Dragon, who had been poached by Yunjian from in Hun Group to join the Kosha mercenaries. The other person who had left in Hun Group alive with Yunjian and Mad Dragon was Shinji. Back in Hun Group, Shinji had done everything he could to surpass her and defeat her. However, she, slaying God, would not allow anyone to challenge her authority. Shinji had always been brooding over this and had vowed to surpass her in terms of ability in this lifetime. At this moment, Shinji's gaze swept across the room. He fixed his gaze on Yunjian before turning to look at Neil. He sneered, "The position of the leader of the Soul Devourer can't be snatched away by you and this brat who came out of nowhere." Shinji's words were so intimidating that Xiangjia and the others felt their hearts skip a beat. They looked a little frightened. However, just as everyone was panicking, thinking that even if Yunjian killed Shinji, she would not be able to defeat this domineering Shinji. An even more intimidating and arrogant statement that caused everyone to tremble in fear continued to ring out. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.